it's over or before that remains to be seen. And also on the other hand, as you mentioned, there could be another meeting between the two PMs, PM Modi and PM KP Sharma Oli. There have been no meetings for almost a year now. Last time they met was in September in New York, I think. So, so two important meetings could happen today on the stage of BIMSTEC, on the sidelines of BIMSTEC, and BIMSTEC itself is in focus because we've been saying that it needs to step up. It's been around for about 3 decades now, but it hardly has any visibility. People actually don't know about it. There have been many criticisms around the summit that even the full form of BIMSTEC itself is too hard to remember and pronounce. So those are one of the things that even experts have been telling. So all of that will be in focus when the meeting starts at 10 a.m. local time here, which would be about 11:30 for guys in India.
As always, Vishal, thanks so much for joining us with the lowdown. In fact, for further clarity, we also have with us Strategic Affairs expert Brahma Chalani on the broadcast. As always, sir, thank you so much for making time out for us. This meeting on the sidelines of the BIMSTEC summit in Bangkok, we know it will be significant as it follows months of tensions between Dhaka and Delhi over attacks on minorities and also Sheikh Hasina's continued stay in Delhi. Are you optimistic about the outcome, sir?
The timing is rather odd because Yunus has made no course correction. His alliance with Islamists continues. He has released terrorists and violent Islamists from jail. 174 prisoners linked to outlawed militant outfits like the ISIS-linked JAMB have been released by the Yunus regime. The human rights situation in Bangladesh remains grim. In fact, the Bangladesh Army Chief, General Zaman, said a few weeks ago that, quote unquote, we are going through a chaotic situation. This is the reality, that Bangladesh has descended into jihadist chaos. And to make matters worse, Mr. Yunus is whipping up anti-India sentiment in Bangladesh and also working with India's adversaries. The Yunus regime a few weeks ago hosted an ISI delegation. The ISI delegation came on a secret visit.
Right.
And then in about 2 weeks from now, the Yunus regime will be hosting Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister, Mr. Ishaq Dar. And as we all know that Mr. Yunus just recently went to China, where on Chinese soil, he made some unfriendly remarks about India, especially about India's northeastern region, the 7 sister states in India's northeast. So given that background, the timing of this meeting, bilateral meeting between Yunus and Prime Minister Modi, seems a bit odd.
Right, as always, sir, thank you so much for joining us with your views. We will, of course, keep in touch with you for regular updates and also to discuss the outcomes of this meeting. Well, as sir mentioned as well, Mr. Yunus's comments about including India's northeastern region and Bhutan, Nepal and Bangladesh as an extension of the Chinese economy during a visit to Beijing have led to misgivings in Delhi, so all eyes will be on this meeting and the impact that it's had on diplomatic relations and whether there's a thaw as well. With that, let's turn our attention to the other big story we're tracking. US stock markets have plunged after President Donald Trump's drastic tariffs ignited fears of wider economic turmoil. In fact, the S&P 500, it notched its biggest drop since 2020 as investors came to terms with the scope of Trump's assault on global trade. Major companies like Nike, Apple, and Target saw sharp losses. In fact, just to understand what kind of losses we witnessed, Apple, which relies on overseas production, actually lost more than $300 billion in market value, its largest single-day wipeout ever. Commodity prices slumped and the dollar wiped out all of its post-election gains. The trade salvo also led to many experts slashing their growth projections for the United States. In fact, some now predict a recession this year and hike inflation forecasts as well. Trump, though, defended his move, saying it would boost the economy. But China and the EU have vowed retaliation, warning of higher duties on American goods. In fact, the World Trade Organization meanwhile expressed concern, predicting a 1% drop in global trade volumes. Traders now fear the tariffs could stoke inflation and slow growth, as I mentioned. But Donald Trump says he's continuing with his approach and the markets will eventually boom. Listen in to Trump's remarks, followed by my colleague Mitch McCann's report from New York.
Well, I mean, it's to be expected. This is a patient that was very sick. We really inherited a terrible economy, as you know, with a lot of problems, including loss of manufacturing and plants closed up all over the country. You know, we've lost 90,000 plants since NAFTA, if you think of that. 90,000, it's not even believable. And about 6 million jobs. And so it was a sick patient. It went through an operation on Liberation Day. And it's going to be a booming country, a very booming country. It's going to be amazing, actually. And we see it because we have trillions of dollars committed to come in, trillions.
Thursday marked the worst day for markets since the height of the coronavirus pandemic 5 years ago. The Dow Jones fell 1,679 points, its worst day since June 2020. The S&P 500 was down 4.84%, also its worst day since June 2020. And the Nasdaq was down as well, 5.97%, its worst day since March of 2020. Now, despite the turbulence on the markets, Donald Trump says he's determined to continue with his approach, saying things are going very well. On Thursday, he said to reporters the markets are going to boom, the stock is going to boom, and the country is going to boom. There were broad sell-offs across the market on Thursday, but let's start with some of the tech stocks that we've been looking at. Apple, which makes a number of its devices throughout Asia, finished down 9.25%. Meta was down 8.96%, and Amazon was down 8.98%. Also affected were sportswear brands, many of whom make their products in Vietnam, Indonesia and China. Nike, for example, which reportedly makes 25% of its shoes in Vietnam, finished down 14.44% at the closing bell in New York. Adidas was down 10% and Puma was down 11.84%. So a difficult day, a turbulent day, a brutal day on the US markets. Mitch McCann, NDTV, New York.
Well, world markets have plunged following Trump's announcement of these widespread reciprocal tariffs. But Canada has announced limited countermeasures in response to Donald Trump's new tariffs. Prime Minister Mark Carney called the move a tragedy for global trade and said Canada would impose a 25% tariff on non-compliant US vehicle imports. However, auto parts and Mexican content will be exempt. This is what he has said. The countermeasure applies to $25.3 billion worth of imports and adds to previous Canadian tariffs on nearly $60 billion of US goods. Mr. Carney warned that while the US may eventually shift its approach, it could take time. But Trump's new tariffs, including that 10% baseline levy on all US imports, have already rattled global markets, as Mitch McCann was reporting as well. For the latest from Canada, let's go across to Vancouver. Maha Siddiqui joins us live at the moment. Maha, this trade war comes as Canada is in the midst of a federal election campaign. Take us through the latest developments.
Yes, absolutely. And this issue has overtaken all other domestic issues as far as the election campaign is concerned. Right now, the focus of all the political parties here is on the trade war with the US, and they are all announcing measures that they would take if they come to power in Canada against the US, especially the Donald Trump administration and the tariffs that he's imposing. So this trade war is well and truly underway, and Canada is responding. And how? Now, Prime Minister Mark Carney has already said that 25% tariff will be levied on fully made cars coming in from the US. About 10% of the cars that come from the US that is exported from the US to Canada are non-CUSMA compliant. CUSMA is the agreement between US, Mexico and Canada. It is a done agreement. The agreement was earlier known as NAFTA, and that agreement was renegotiated during Donald Trump's previous tenure and is now known as CUSMA in Canada. Now, if the vehicles are non-compliant with CUSMA, then they will be levied with 25% tariff, and any foreign part, for instance, which is not part of this trade agreement between the three countries, will be separately levied with a tariff. So for instance, if the steering wheel of a car is made, say, in Japan, then only that steering wheel will be that the value of that will be tariff.
Right.
So clearly what this will generate, as Mark Carney's office points out, is $8 billion annually, which they are saying they will invest in the workers and the industry that is being affected because of the US tariff. And this is a big issue, especially in the Ontario province, wherein Windsor Stellantis has already paused their production.
As always, Maha, thank you so much for joining us with the latest details. By the way, Republican Senator Chuck Grassley has introduced a bill requiring congressional approval for new tariffs just a day after President Trump announced these sweeping import taxes. The bipartisan Trade Review Act of 2025 would block tariffs unless Congress signs off within 60 days. And this move signals growing dissent among Republicans as some lawmakers worry about economic fallout and impacts on allies like Israel as well. However, with Republicans controlling both chambers of Congress, the bill is unlikely to pass. Trump argues that tariffs will boost federal revenue and bring manufacturing back to the US, but economists, they remain quite skeptical at this stage. And with that, let's turn our attention to the devastation in Myanmar. Extreme heat and heavy rain in Myanmar could cause disease outbreaks among earthquake survivors camping in the open. This is what global aid bodies are warning. They've complicated the rescue efforts made difficult by a civil war, as well as the death toll there surpassed 3,000. Last Friday, 7.7 magnitude quake, one of Myanmar's strongest in a century, jolted a region home to 28 million, toppling buildings, as you can see on your screens, such as hospitals, flattening communities, and leaving many without food, many without water and shelter. The World Health Organization flagged a rising risk of cholera and other diseases in the worst affected areas, such as Mandalay, while it prepared $1 million of relief supplies, which actually includes body bags. Meanwhile, in other news, a deadly storm system sweeping across the United States now from Texas to Ohio. It's killed at least 7 people and left over a dozen injured. Tornadoes have hit areas in Tennessee, in Mississippi, and other states in the United States too. Well, the National Weather Service there warned of generational floods in the US South and Midwest as tornadoes swept the country from Texas to Michigan. About 15 million people in the US are under tornado watches from Ohio to Mississippi, and nearly 6 million people are under the watch, including people from Nashville and Tennessee. News and updates continue in a moment, right after this very short commercial break. Do stay tuned.
One of the worst earthquakes hit Thailand recently, and the tragedy is still unfolding. You can see some sniffer dogs here. Authorities have told me that they had located some vital signs, but they have not been able to pull anyone out. Question as to how did the 4 Chinese nationals manage to get inside such a highly fortified area. They managed to get in. They were successful in getting some 32 documents that established that Chinese connection to this site. It's also about a larger conspiracy that could be at hand. Whether the Chinese materials were substandard, all of that will have to be investigated.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
One of the worst earthquakes hit Thailand recently, and the tragedy is still unfolding. You can see some sniffer dogs here. Authorities have told me that they had located some vital signs, but they have not been able to pull anyone out. Question as to how did the 4 Chinese nationals manage to get inside such a highly fortified area. They managed to get in. They were successful in getting some 32 documents that established that Chinese connection to this site. It's also about a larger conspiracy that could be at hand. Whether the Chinese materials were substandard, all of that will have to be investigated.
Meanwhile, a federal judge in the US has temporarily blocked Donald Trump's administration from cutting more than $11 billion in public health grants allocated to US states during the COVID-19 pandemic. But this ruling by US District Judge Mary S. McElroy in Rhode Island bars the US Department of Health and Human Services, as well as its agencies, from implementing the cuts while the litigation plays out. The grant funding was actually used by states to track and prevent and control infectious diseases, including measles and bird flu, as well as track mental health services and also fund addiction treatment. To Afghanistan now, where more than 200 health facilities run by the World Health Organization, providing medical care for 1.84 million people, have closed or ceased operations after the US aid cuts announced by the Trump administration shut off life-saving medical care, including vaccinations, maternal and child health services. On his first day in office in January, Donald Trump had announced an immediate freeze on all US foreign assistance, including more than $40 billion for international projects coming from USAID, which is the United States Agency for International Development. It was later confirmed that more than 80% of USAID programs had been cancelled. To understand the impact in Afghanistan further, we have with us live from Washington, D.C., Holly McKay at the moment. Holly, thanks so much for making time for us. The WHO has clearly warned that in Afghanistan, where health clinics have actually closed in 28 out of the 34 provinces, this is leading to a grave escalating humanitarian crisis.
This is certainly really heartbreaking news. Afghanistan was already one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world, and this is undoubtedly making it significantly worse. And a big problem with these aid cuts is that over the 20-year US-led occupation in Afghanistan, the country became very reliant upon outside NGOs, outside funding, and outside groups to really bolster and keep its healthcare infrastructure alive. And so with these abrupt cuts, there are certainly many lives at stake. And I think it's important to remember that this really does go beyond politics. These are human beings and people that are in some of the most rural and some of the poorest communities who are already suffering, who are just going to be suffering even more.
Right. Afghanistan, by the way, Holly, just for the benefit of our viewers, has already seen a rise in polio cases due to restrictions that were imposed by the Taliban on its vaccination program. What's worse is that the WHO says the availability of healthcare for Afghans may now worsen even further. Holly, so on ground zero, are people pessimistic about how this might play out?
Yeah, I think Afghans have already been through so much over the past 25 years, and this is just another huge blow to what they're already enduring. I think we'll also see a really big hit to maternal care, to babies, to newborns, to mothers. And that is one of the most heartbreaking components of it, is that Afghanistan already is one of the highest maternal mortality rates in the world. And this will no doubt exacerbate that. And it's painful to see what they have to go through. And I can only hope that other countries, other organizations, other groups can donate, can somehow play a part in bridging that gap. And hopefully United States will at some point be able to resume that funding, because as I said, it really is human lives over politics.
Well, Holly, as you've so appropriately put it, this goes beyond politics. Thank you so much for joining us with that update. We will, of course, keep in touch with you for regular updates on Afghanistan. Meanwhile, Hungary will leave the International Criminal Court because it has become political. This is what the country's Prime Minister Viktor Orban said as he welcomed his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu, the subject of an ICC arrest warrant, to Budapest for an official visit. Standing beside Netanyahu at the start of the 4-day visit, Orban said Hungary was convinced the otherwise very important court had diminished into a political forum. Meanwhile, I must also inform you that hundreds of thousands of fleeing Gazans sought shelter in one of the biggest mass displacements of the war as Israeli forces advanced into the ruins of the city of Rafah, part of a newly announced security zone they intend to seize. A day after declaring their intention to capture large parts of the crowded enclave, Israeli forces pushed into the city on Gaza's southern edge, which had served as a last refuge for people fleeing other areas for much of the war. In fact, Israel has expanded its operations and seized Rafah's new security zone. Many are now fleeing this area. Hundreds of thousands are still in need of dire aid. These are the scenes emerging from the enclave as we speak, as Israeli forces advance into the ruins of the city of Rafah, part of a newly announced security zone they intend to seize. Thank you for investing your time in watching this edition of The World 24/7. As always, we'll keep tracking all the latest updates for you. Do stay tuned.
One of the worst earthquakes hit Thailand recently, and the tragedy is still unfolding. You can see some sniffer dogs here. Authorities have told me that they had located some vital signs, but they have not been able to pull anyone out. Question as to how did the 4 Chinese nationals manage to get inside such a highly fortified area. They managed to get in. They were successful in getting some 32 documents that established that Chinese connection to this site. It's also about a larger conspiracy that could be at hand. Whether the Chinese materials were substandard, all of that will have to be investigated.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
One of the worst earthquakes hit Thailand recently, and the tragedy is still unfolding. You can see some sniffer dogs here. Authorities have told me that they had located some vital signs, but they have not been able to pull anyone out. Question as to how did the 4 Chinese nationals manage to get inside such a highly fortified area. They managed to get in. They were successful in getting some 32 documents that established that Chinese connection to this site. It's also about a larger conspiracy that could be at hand. Whether the Chinese materials were substandard, all of that will have to be investigated.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
A
A very good morning. You're watching NDTV 24x7. We've woken up to a very tragic news coming in of veteran actor Manoj Kumar, who's died at the age of 87. He'd been battling a prolonged illness. He died at the Kokilaben Ambani Hospital in Mumbai. We'll get you all the details. First, let's get you the headlines. Bollywood's Bharat Kumar has died at the age of 87. Veteran actor Manoj Kumar is no more. Waqf bill has been approved by the Rajya Sabha with 128 voting in favour of the bill against 95 who voted against. In the Hyderabad University row, the Telangana government has now set up a panel in order to settle that issue as far as the 400-acre land grab is concerned. Prime Minister Modi is in Thailand. He's going to be attending the BIMSTEC summit today. Of course, he did meet with the Prime Minister of Thailand yesterday, and today, of course, is that big summit coming up before he departs for Sri Lanka later tonight. And the US markets have been hit hard by the Trump tariffs. We're talking about $2 trillion that have been wiped out at the US stock exchange. Now, this is the biggest wipeout that we're seeing since March of 2020. And the IMF is saying that tariffs pose a significant risk to global outlook. The chief of IMF is now appealing to the United States to reduce the uncertainty. Let's get your top story of very tragic news coming in of veteran Bollywood actor Manoj Kumar, who's died at the age of 87 in Mumbai. The veteran actor, known for his roles in Purab aur Paschim Kranti, died at that hospital in Mumbai. We're talking about the Kokilaben Hospital in Mumbai. He is known for his patriotic films, Roti Kapda aur Makan and Kranti. He died in Mumbai at about 4 o'clock in the morning. The legendary Bollywood actor was a recipient of the Padma Shri as well as the Dada Saheb Phalke Award for his immense contribution to Indian cinema. He was born as Hari Krishnan Giri Goswami in July of 1937. He was young and he admired actors such as Dilip Kumar, Ashok Kumar, and he decided, in fact, to name himself after a character that Dilip Kumar played in the movie Shabnam. So he named himself Manoj Kumar. His first major success as the main lead came in 1964 with Raj Khosla's mystery thriller, Wo Kaun Thi. He is also known for his patriotic films, and which is why he's popularly known as Bharat Kumar. He was the best, he was known for his patriotic films because all his movies that he acted or directed, they were, based on patriotism, including Shaheed, Upkar, as well as Purab aur Paschim. He was honoured with the Padma Shri in 1992 and with the Dada Saheb Phalke Award in 2015. Now, in addition to his patriotic films, he also acted and directed in other films which were very, very successful, such as Haryali Aur Rasta, Himalaya Ki Goad Mein, Do Badan, as well as Patthar Ke Sanam, Neel Kamal, and of course others that really movies that are associated with the actor-director. Let's get you some of the reactions. Come.
Sad to inform you all that legendary Dada Saheb Phalke Award winner, our inspiration, doyen of Indian film industry, Shri Manoj Kumar ji is no more. He met his last at Kokilaben Hospital, Andheri, after being not well for a very, very long time. It's a great loss to the industry. Manojji will really miss you. We all kept on meeting him quite occasionally. He was always full of life. He was always happy.
Maria joining us on the phone line. Maria, a very tragic morning with Manoj Kumar. Bharat Kumar no more. He, of course, has been known for his patriotic films. We're talking about Purab aur Paschim, Kranti, Roti Kapda aur Makan. These are just to name a few. Take us through his, great achievements that we have grown up on. And, of course, in regard to his final rites, what are the details that we have at the moment?
Yes, so you spoke about his success, his achievements, and there has been a string of hits which he delivered as an actor filmmaker. And Manoj Kumar carved a strongly what was seen as an individualistic niche for himself. And he had a very strong identity which became synonymous with patriotism, very own Mr. Bharat of India. And there was this success of this film, particularly Shaheed in 1965, which was a biopic on Shaheed Bhagat Singh, which almost like became a beacon for the direction of his career. And what we have seen is that for a country which had just achieved independence, few years into independence, Manoj Kumar and his patriotic songs almost gave the direction to a nation which wanted some narrative to build on. Of course, he tried to contrast the richness of the Indian tradition, which we saw in Upkar, Purab aur Paschim, with the materialistic Western society. And Manoj Kumar had this multitude of a range of cinema which he did, and he was always known for his flag-waving hand. I mean, almost characteristic, which became, associated with his movement and his personality and persona. He would often become that hero of the local people of India. And when he did that movie, Mela, so he became synonymous with the destiny of the nation, almost on those lines, and extremely handsome man. He had his own way of drawing the audiences to the theaters, and there were unexpected, turns in his career that happened with the kind of accolades that came his way, particularly from what was seen as the straight from the heart kind of performances. In fact, what I have read also somewhere that Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri then had praised the film and had said that Manoj Kumar should make another film. And then he gave that slogan of Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan slogan, if you remember clearly. And that slogan shaped Manoj Kumar's official debut as a director in Upkar in 1967, where he believed, where he also played both the Jawan and the Kisan. So, he was the son of the soil. That imagery certainly made Manoj Kumar the most fond actors of the 1960s and 1950s. And then he went on to make those cinema in 1970s, where he dabbled with a role of a doomed lover in Admi and Do Badan, as you said. And then came in some romantic role also in Patthar Ke Sanam. So he was almost like that image which he enjoyed of being Mr. Clean, of the son of the soil kind of cinema that he did. And the films certainly glorified the struggle for an independent India, that in Kranti that we saw in 1981. So the struggles were also seen as Manoj Kumar making it about that very, very beautiful journey of a nation, a young nation which was trying to get hold of its own destiny. And I think that's where Manoj Kumar's contribution to Indian cinema cannot be overlooked, or perhaps, of course, for the last, since 2000 onwards, he hadn't really made much of cinema. He wasn't really seen much. Jai Hind, I believe, was his last one, where he showcased his own son. But his direction was almost seen as a pale shadow of his former self. One of the unforgettable movies was, of course, as you said, Das Nambari in 1976, and also Kranti, as I pointed out, where for which and Clerk in 1989. So Manoj Kumar, a veteran film actor passing away, is certainly leaving behind a huge vacuum in the Indian film industry and I would say the film industry around the world, globally as well.
Maria, of course, when you're talking about the veteran actor, one can't help but, get that sense of the sentiments that he evoked, the, deep sense of patriotism that his characters evoke through his films. And, take us through the winner of the Dadasaheb Phalke Award. He was awarded, in 2015. And, of course, also the Padma Shri winner. Take us through, all the accomplishments of the veteran actor.
So as far as accomplishments or achievements are concerned, that had come through his life, throughout his life, in fact. There were Padma Shri, which came in 1992. Dadasaheb Phalke Award came in 2015. He won these awards for his overall contribution, be it as a screenwriter, film producer, film director, actor, lyricist. Everything. Manoj Kumar was not just one aspect of Indian cinema, but perhaps a wholesome picture, a complete picture, or should I say, a complete package. He was, of course, a Brahmin who was born in Abbottabad, a town in northwest frontier province, and then his family migrated to India. He studied in the Hindu college before trying his luck in films. He was admired deeply by Dilip Kumar and many others who particularly liked his role in multiple films. But what stood out, I would say, was also his debut, his rise to prominence. Then came the stardom in the 1960s and 70s, where the former Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri, in fact, asked him to create a film based on the slogan "Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan." Hail the soldier, hail the farmer. So Kisan and Jawan became almost synonymous with Manoj Kumar and his entire iconic journey. So what a journey, what it has been, the lives and times of Manoj Kumar as we celebrate today. And his I think he also had a political entry. He joined the BJP before the general elections of 2004, and he remained with the party, but not not having any active role within the party. He did also win the Filmfare Lifetime Achievement Award in 1999 for a career which had spanned over 40 years. So, he may not have any connect with the present generation or the generation, say, 10 years ago, but for the generation of 1960s or the generation of 1980s, his films, his songs remain relevant. Mere Desh Ki Dharti, that famous song. We will always play those songs, and that will remain part of our culture. Every time there would be, we will hear anything to do with patriotism. So that was Manoj Kumar, the quintessential patriotic man of India.
Right, Maria, of course, you mentioned his films. Of course, Kranti comes to mind, which was, released in 1981, and it was in 1997, in fact, when his movie came out. This was a movie that was perhaps his last film that he acted in. And after that, of course, he tried to release his son, and that is when he directed his son in that film that Maria mentioned, Jai Hind, which also had a patriotic film. The film starred his son. Let's listen in to what Kunal Goswami had to say.
सुबह 3:30 बजे कोकिला अंबानी हॉस्पिटल में वो अस्वस्थ थे काफ़ी टाइम से, लेकिन बड़ी शिद्दत से उन्होंने हर चीज़ का मुकाबला किया है और भगवान की कृपा है, शिरडी बाबा की दया है कि वो चैन से आराम से इस दुनिया से गए। कल सुबह उनका क्रेमेशन होगा। आप सब लोगों का धन्यवाद।
And to know more details, we have Abira joining us. Abira, regarding his final rites, what is the information that we have? We just heard his son Kunal Goswami talking about his final rites will take place tomorrow, that is on Saturday.
Yes, tomorrow the final rise. They have still not decided the venue, so we are in touch with his son, and he will let us know the venue right now. He passed away 3:30 in the morning, like you already heard, in Kokilaben Hospital. He was suffering through liver cirrhosis, and he was unwell for quite some time. He's 87 years old. But, Manoj Kumar has so much of contribution to Indian cinema. His iconic roles in films like Shaheed, Upkar, Rang De Basanti resonate deeply with the patriotic sentiments of the Indian public. Throughout his career, Kumar became known for both his acting and direction in films that focused on national pride and spirit of unity. So he has already won a national award, and he has won 7 Filmfare Awards in different categories. Also, his recognition of his immense contribution to Indian art, the government of India awarded him the Padma Shri in 1992. So, his legacy is going to stay. He's not there with us, but we will always remember him through his films, acting as well as direction, and of course, the music of the films that he has done. We are always humming them. So, yeah, a huge loss for Indian cinema today.
Abira, and one of my favorite songs playing on our screen right now, Lag Ja Gale, which featured Manoj Kumar, and of course very famous songs that Manoj Kumar has been associated with. He has starred in these films, he's directed these films, mostly having patriotic themes. Let's just go across now. Abira, we will keep coming back to you for more on that. Let's just get you more news at the moment that's coming in. Well, in more news, a key maritime pact has been signed at the 6th BIMSTEC summit that is being held in Bangkok. Remember, there was a buzz around the meeting between Prime Minister Modi and Bangladesh's Mohammad Yunus. Now, the latter shared a dinner photograph with the Prime Minister, and the reports are also suggesting that the Prime Minister will be meeting with the Prime Minister of Nepal. To know more on these shots that are just coming in off that meeting, let's just go across to my colleague Vishal, who's joining us from Bangkok. Vishal, take us through the key takeaways of his Prime Minister Modi's visit to Thailand, which started yesterday, and that dinner that took place with that picture that was shared by Mohammad Yunus. There was a lot of speculation regarding if they would meet, considering the remarks that were made by Mohammad Yunus just recently.
Well, there have been a lot of issues discussed, a lot of directives given, and one of the key things that are being talked about is the meeting between Mohammad Yunus of Bangladesh and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. We have confirmed with our sources in Dhaka that the meeting is happening, but from the Indian side, the official confirmation is yet to come, whether a meeting will be there or not. And there will also be another meeting with the Prime Minister of Nepal, KP Sharma Oli, another crucial bilateral that is supposedly happening, and that again has not been confirmed by the Indian side, but the Nepalese media has been reporting on it for the last 2 to 3 days. And as far as the takeaways are concerned, there have been 6 MOUs, 6 memorandums of understanding that have been signed between India and Thailand. That happened yesterday when PM Modi arrived in Bangkok and met with the Thai PM, and the 6 MOUs that I mentioned earlier cover areas spanning across, it's a wide area, from IT to handloom to handicraft and MSMEs. So it covers a wide range of areas, particularly IT. The details are which will be ironed out in the near future. But at the same time, there is a larger criticism around BIMSTEC because it hasn't been able to match up to the standards of, say, a SAARC organization or an ASEAN organization. To give you an example, the Secretariat of BIMSTEC spends only about $1 million on its budget a year. On the other hand, there are at least $2 to $3 million spent on an ASEAN Secretariat. So that gives you a scale of what it needs to do to catch up to other South Asian groups. But on the other hand, there is optimism. Leaders want to rally around each other and they want to have a collective voice. They have an example right now in Bangkok when a big tragedy occurred here, when that building collapsed in the wake of the earthquake. So So they want a collective response in a scenario like this, not pockets of responses that we've been seeing in the recent past.
Right, thank you so much, Vishal, for joining us. We will keep coming back to you for more on that. Prime Minister Modi there attending the summit. Of course, do remember that he is going to be leaving for Sri Lanka later today, and that is the Prime Minister there. Of course, all eyes on that meeting, and of course, reports suggesting that the Prime Minister could also be meeting with the Prime Minister of Nepal. Now, after the Supreme Court on Thursday ordered to stop all sort of development activities carried out by the government in Telangana, we're talking about the row as far as the students against the government over that 400-acre land grab. Now, of course, the government has finally now reacted as well. The Revanth Reddy government, which has been getting a lot of criticism for the move. This is in regard to the felling of the trees, which even the Supreme Court had expressed extreme amount of shock considering that the amount of land that has been cleared by the government. Now, the government has set up a panel consisting of a group of ministers to talk to all stakeholders in the case and find a solution. Now, the students of the university have been protesting for days against the tree cutting exercise of that 400-acre land next to their campus. The Telangana government wants to build a tech park. Now, the panel will talk to the students, the faculty, as well as the activists involved in the protest in order to determine the next course of action. Uma joining us to get us more on this. Uma, take us through, of course, the Supreme Court coming down heavily when it comes to the action that was taken by the government. And in response to that, the government has now decided to set up this panel in order to chalk the path forward. But of course, in regard to the government saying that this is very justified, they're going to be making a tech park in that area, which is 400 acres of land. But, from what activists and the students are really, echoing as far as the sentiment is concerned, is that this is an area which is a green belt, and they really need to save this particular land, which is 400 acres, because this is a green belt which houses many animals.
So the Supreme Court has made very scathing remarks on the state government, in fact saying that no one is above law. And they are, in fact, saying that the report that was presented by the Telangana High Court Registrar to the Supreme Court had indicated that large areas, more than 100 acres of land, had been cleared within 3 to 4 days, and the government had, in fact, not perhaps taken the permissions. That's the reason why they asked the Chief Secretary of the state, one, to stop all tree felling activities, saying that the Chief Secretary would be made personally liable in case any of those directions are violated. They also asked very important questions that included what was the compelling urgency for the government to send across all those machines, JCBs, and get the land cleared in such a hurry, and whether they had got an environment impact assessment done for the development project that they had proposed, and third, whether all the requisite permissions had been taken by the state government before indulging in this kind of an action. And the Supreme Court in fact said that it presents a very alarming picture. They also said that from the evidence that they had seen, the tract of land does appear to be a forest land, because it has wildlife, it has flora as well as fauna. The three points that the Supreme Court has made are also about the committee, the expert committee that was asked to be constituted just on the 5th of March, in which they had said that every state must in fact identify forests and forest-like lands, and that no government, whether union government or state government, should do any action that in any way reduces this forest cover. And therefore, the government's action of setting in the JCBs is being seen as some kind of a serious violation, and that's the reason why the Supreme Court also said that the Central Empowered Committee of the Environment Ministry would also come down and present a report to the court before the 16th of April. The government's exercise to bring in a committee of ministers, senior ministers, including the Deputy Chief Minister, Mr. Bhatti Vikramarka, Sridhar Babu, as well as Pongoleti Srinivas Reddy, is a damage control exercise, and any kind of a dialogue that they are talking about with the college, executive, university executives, or with the JSC, or with the students or citizens groups or activists, is only a damage control exercise, because now I think it's gone beyond negotiation, and the Supreme Court has got directly into this, saying that the green cover needs to be protected.
Right, of course, also questioning as to what was the compelling urgency to undertake these kind of activities, including the removal of trees from the alleged forest area. Thank you so much, Uma, for joining us. Now, the Waqf Amendment Bill has been passed in the Rajya Sabha after it was passed in the Lok Sabha. The voting was 128 votes in favour of the bill and 95 against. The arguments were on expected lines as Kiran Rijiju dismissed the allegations that the bill would harm Muslim interests and asserted that non-Muslims cannot interfere in the Waqf Board's affairs as its management, its creation and beneficiaries would remain exclusively for Muslims. We have my colleague Vasudha joining us from right outside the parliament. Vasudha, of course, JP Nadda has accused the opposition of attempting to divert and derail the issue, while Congress's Mallikarjun Kharge said that the bill would sow the seed for dispute. And, despite that resistance and that opposition and the debates that went on over 2 days for hours and hours on end, finally the bill has been passed.
Absolutely, Divya. Good morning to you. Good morning to all our viewers. I come to you from right outside the parliament. It's the last day of the second part of the budget session. The parliament session comes to an end today, and it has been a rocking parliament session, quite explosive, because the spotlight has been on the Waqf Amendment Bill, and like Divya rightly pointed out, it has been passed by both houses, and there has been a shift in the attitude of the opposition also. It showed a united face, but also there was no walking out. There was a lot of deliberation. There were disagreements, but there was also a lot of cordial discussion, which also in some way sets an example for how the parliament needs to work in the coming days. But remember, it was a contentious bill with the opposition claiming that it's completely unconstitutional. It completely violates Article 26 of the Indian Constitution that promises Muslims the right to manage and monitor their own properties. But the BJP, the NDA showing a united face there, not just the TDP and the JDU, the most important allies of the BJP, of the NDA, supporting the party wholeheartedly. In fact, even the neutral parties that spoke on that spoke neutrally, but that did not issue any whips to their own MPs, they also gave instructions to their party members to vote as per their conscience, and they did not ask them to oppose the bill, which in some way shows that the NDA managed to get a lot of numbers on its side, which is why the bill in Rajya Sabha, where the numbers were trickier, was passed with 128 yeses and of course 95 noes. But remember, this has been a session where we saw a lot of business happening. The Tribhuvan Sahakari University bill was also passed. This is the first university for cooperatives in India, which builds capacity for cooperative skilled workers, and incidentally it's also named after a Congress leader. In fact, Amit Shah, the Home Minister, and also the Minister for Cooperatives, defended the name of the bill, said that Tribhuvan Das Patel was somebody who worked with Sardar Patel, and he was the one who gave Varghese Kurian his job, the man who's often credited with building of Amul. We also saw the disaster management bill being passed. Disaster management bill will change the way India handles disasters, with more coordination between disaster management agencies, between states and centre. We also saw a lot of other important bills being passed. One, of course, was the Immigration and Foreigners Act, which is important because there's been a modernization in the way there are checks on foreigners. Amit Shah has very clearly said that India is not a dharamshala, so there'll be more checks on foreigners who come to study, who also come for treatment. But apart from that, the spotlight, of course, was on the Waqf Amendment Bill. Remember, it was passed by the Lok Sabha on Wednesday night and by the Rajya Sabha yesterday night. It took several hours, more than 12 hours of discussion in each house, with the opposition resting its argument around the constitution, saying that this is unconstitutional, and the NDA making it clear that this is a reform move. This is something that will benefit the Pasmanda Muslims. In fact, the Prime Minister himself has tweeted saying that this is a move towards building compassionate India, an India that moves towards social justice. He has also said that the older system was synonymous with lack of transparency, lack of accountability, something that was unjust towards Pasmanda Muslims. Let's look at some reactions to this Waqf Amendment Bill before we go to our guests.
जो हमने रिकमेंडेशंस दिया, अमेंडमेंट दिया, उसको सरकार ने स्वीकार किया। आज उस जेपीसी के लिए हमारे लिए कितना संतोष का विषय है, क्योंकि निश्चित तौर से शायद इतिहास में पहली बार होगा कि इस जेपीसी के एक्सरसाइज करने के बाद उसकी सभी रिकमेंडेशंस को सरकार ने स्वीकार किया। तो ये पार्लियामेंट्री डेमोक्रेसी में जो स्पीकर साहब ने एक बनाया था जेपीसी कमेटी, ये एक तरह से पार्लियामेंट्री डेमोक्रेसी को मजबूत करने वाला है।
Okay, joining us now is Aarti Jairath, who is a senior journalist and an author. We also have Sajjan Kumar, who is a commentator and also an author. Thank you both of you for joining me on this broadcast. Aarti, ma'am, to you first. There was clearly a shift in the working of the Congress party. The party, knew that it does not have the numbers. The Gandhis did not speak on this bill, in the floor of the House. But it was very clear that the party did not want to walk out, did not want to protest. It wanted to put forward its arguments. I mean, Gaurav Gogoi spoke extensively about the contributions of the Muslim community, whereas K.C. Venugopal spoke about himself being a devout Hindu, going to Sabrimala, believing in Guruvayur. So I found the Congress party's arguments in some ways strategized to make a point in the floor of the House, but at the same time, send out a message that it's a party that believes in discussion, not in disruption, wants the parliament to function.
I absolutely, Vasudha. I think you put it very well, because given the kind of emotions surrounding this bill, one would have thought that the opposition would walk out. I mean, there was that high drama in the Business Advisory Committee when the opposition walked out, and the law minister, the Minority Affairs Minister, Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju talked about the opposition. If this is what they want, and then it's okay by us. But obviously the opposition rethought its strategy and decided that it was important to get their viewpoint across, have a proper debate, and you make your point, vote against the bill, and the bill gets passed because obviously the NDA has the numbers both in the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha, so the bill was going to get passed. So I think it was good of them to do that. And this is what Parliament is all about. Parliament is all about debate, discussion. You may have fiery speeches, you may have fiery exchanges, but the thing is that you have to stand up and put your viewpoint across. The other side has to stand up and put their viewpoint across. And that's what parliamentary debate is. And I must say, in this session, not just the Waqf bill, I think on the finance bill also, we saw some good discussion. That way it's been very heartening. The second half of the budget session has been very, very heartening.
That's right. The Railways Amendment Bill, the Finance Bill also saw a lot of discussions, but both of them got passed. Let me get in Sajjan Kumar here. Sajjan, like Aarti is also pointing out, there was a shift in the way both the ruling party and the opposition worked today. But for the NDA to get the complete overwhelming support of its own allies, TDP and JDU, both parties that are known to have Muslim support bases also in their respective states, and also get even BJD and YSRCP, which initially announced their opposition to that bill, but then did not issue whips to their MPs, in fact asked them to vote as per their conscience. In fact, many MPs have come out of these parties and they've said that they voted in favor of the bill. It also shows that possibly the BJP explained their position very clearly to them, or do you see this as the rising strength of the BJP despite its numbers not being what it had in 2019 and 2014?
Yes, Vasudha, I mean, once the allies like JDU and TDP were on board, on the premise that many of the concerns and apprehensions of the minority community have been addressed to their satisfaction, it was only natural for the BJD and YSRCP to kind of come on board tactically by not issuing a whip. So it was an amazing floor management, and it also shows that the chemistry within the NDA is quite positive. And they also succeeded in bringing a couple of more parties on board in a tactical manner. But on the other hand, what is more important, as has been pointed out, that after a long haul, it seemed the return of the old self of the parliament, wherein you see the deliberation, you see debates, based on not only on arguments and logics, but also you see the exchange of wit and humor, something that was missing for a long time. So I think for NDA part and particularly the BJP part, it shows amazing floor management and their ability to put across their viewpoints, not only to their own allies, but also to other party members, and the kind of eyeballs that it has got across it, because mind it, it was an issue, particularly the Waqf one, which was about not just about religious contour, it was also about the question of the land, question of property. And therefore, in this parliamentary session, you see both BJP as well as the India Alliance, they had amazing coordination within themselves. And there was also a sense of the chemistry that you saw, that while they took diametrically opposite positions, but the deliberative aspect emerged quite stronger. And that way, not just the BJP and NDA, but also the India Alliance should be given credit that the chemistry was quite positive and the deliberative culture returned, as has been the case with Parliament in olden days. Yes, Muslim.
Right. So the chemistry and strategy, not just in the ruling alliance, but also in the opposition, was something that stood out this time, which is why we saw both sides working with a lot of strategy. A session that began on a bitter note with this fierce fight between DMK and BJP over the three-language policy with continuous protests has ended on a cordial note. Of course, there was a lot of discord and disagreement, but of course, the Waqf Amendment Bill, the discussions both in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha saw a lot of discussions and deliberation. This was apart from the JPC that was held over 38 sittings, 20 sittings of the second part of the budget session over now. Today is the last day of the parliament session before it meets for the monsoon session. Of course, it ends with the Waqf Amendment Bill being passed, clearly a victory for the ruling alliance. But how will this politically play out is something that we will keep tracking. For now, it's back to the studio.
Thank you so much, Vasudha, for getting us all those details. We will keep coming back to you for more. And of course, it is TVK-led Tamil Nadu superstar Vijay who has announced a statewide protest against the Waqf bill, demanding the repeal of the Waqf Amendment Bill. Now, Vijay on Thursday has gone on to say that the bill is anti-democratic and has demanded that it be taken back. And if those demands are not met, that his party would join forces with the Muslims in their Waqf rights legal struggle. To know more on this, we have my colleague Sam Daniel joining us. Sam, where is this protest going to be held? And take us through the demands of the actor-turned-politician.
Well, Divya, the exact locations have not been shared. This is obviously a protest without the regular mandatory police permission. So we have been told that this could happen in a few locations in Chennai, but we'll have to wait and watch. But Vijay's call for a protest came even as the Rajya Sabha was debating after the Lok Sabha had passed this last night. And Vijay calls this majoritarianism by the BJP and has slammed the BJP for going ahead with this when the entire opposition across the country is against this. And he says this is against the basic tenets of the Indian democracy and the constitution and encroaches the rights of Muslims and their worship-based culture guaranteed by the constitution. He says this will pave way for destroying the communal amity across the country, and he says this will keep Muslims continuously in fear and insecure. And he questions the BJP's claim that this amendment is only to bring in transparency and to regularize the administration of Waqf properties. He questions in that case, why didn't BJP have even a single MP to table this in the parliament and debate this? And he says this has to be seen in the context of not only the opposition from political parties across the state, but even several states have passed assembly resolutions, including Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Kerala. And he says in this context, this is unacceptable and the party will take to the streets. Politically speaking, Divya, this comes as Vijay gears up for his political or electoral debut in the 2026 assembly elections, and this is politically an attempt by him to make sure that he's seen to be supporting and standing in solidarity with the Muslim community, which forms a major political vote bank in the state as well.
Right, thank you so much, Sam. We will keep coming back to you for more on that. Moving on, the initial bonhomie between Omar Abdullah government and the centre in J&K appears to be fizzling out. It has been replaced by simmering tension over the transfer of 48 Jammu and Kashmir Administrative Service officers by the LG. Now, the Chief Minister has called for an emergency meeting, and to know more on this, we have my colleague Nazir joining us. Nazir, there is this emergency meeting that has been planned by the Chief Minister. Is the bonhomie with the centre over, is the big question?
Well, that appears because the way things are going, senior National Congress leaders are clearly saying that it cannot be business as usual. They see the transfers and other things which have happened over the last 5-6 months, an assault on the mandate of the people and the authority of the elected government. Look, there's a dual control and overlapping powers. Lieutenant Governor has sweeping powers over transfer of IS officers He has absolute power on law and order and the police. But all other things are the domain or the jurisdiction of the elected government, Umar Abdullah-led government, including transfer of Jammu and Kashmir Administrative Service Office. But what has happened? Few days back, there was a long list of the officers who were posted as additional DCs, Assistant Commissioner Revenues, and the Tahsildars, 48 officers. So the Umar Abdullah appears to be very, very miffed, agitated, and he has called a meeting of his legislators today, and also legislators of his allies parties, Congress and the Independents. So all will be meeting in Srinagar today. At around 11, meeting will start in Srinagar, and to devise the strategy what they will do. And but they are very clear that it can't be business as usual. We know there was the initial bone-homing between the central government. Chief Minister Umar Abdullah had a lot of praise for the Prime Minister, and Prime Minister profusely praised Umar Abdullah during his visit to Srinagar. But when it comes to the hard politics and the real governance, there are really serious issues. For example, because of this dual control, Jammu and Kashmir is without Advocate General. So you cannot think of a government which cannot be represented in the court,
right.
in the courts. So J&K government is without Advocate General for last 6 months, but now the big trigger is this transfer of 48 officers.
Right, Nazir, all eyes on that meeting. Thank you so much for joining us. We will keep coming back to you for more on that. In other news, U.S. stocks plunged as traders reacted to Donald Trump's sweeping tariff announcement. We're talking about, the kind of a $2 trillion wipeout at the U.S. markets. This is the shakeup that we've seen due to that reciprocal tariffs that were announced by Donald Trump. Meanwhile, IMF chief has gone on to say that the tariffs pose a significant risk to global outlook and has urged the United States to reduce the trade uncertainty by working with the partners. My colleague Sakshi Bajaj has all the details.
And a gripping Wall Street with, of course, U.S. stocks posting their steepest drop since 2020. The Nasdaq sliding nearly 6% at close, S&P 500 tumbling nearly 5% at close, and the Dow Jones declining nearly 4% at close. Remember, the S&P 500 is now officially back in correction territory, and the S&P 500 alone losing over $2 trillion in market cap, and the Dow tumbling over 1,600 points. All tech stocks, remember, lost over $1 trillion. Of course, the Magnificent Seven, also as they're known as, from Nvidia, Amazon, Apple, all the tech stocks combined have lost over $1 trillion in value in just one trading session. The IMF chief also warning on tariffs, saying that tariffs do pose a significant risk to global outlook at a time of sluggish growth, remember. Also saying that, look, IMF at the moment is assessing really the macroeconomic implications, and tariffs, of course, they, are looking, it's really important at this time to, of course, avoid steps that could further harm the world economy. The IMF appealing to the US and its trading partners to resolve trade tensions and reduce uncertainty for the world.
And right, of course, after that announcement, it's not just the U.S. markets that are reacting, but also the reaction coming out of Canada that has gone ahead and announced that it will impose 25% retaliatory tariffs on U.S.-made vehicles in response to Trump administration's import taxes on foreign autos. This after the Canadian Prime Minister has promised to retaliate to the tariffs issued by Donald Trump with purpose and with force. Let's listen in.
And today I'm announcing that the Government of Canada will be responding by matching the U.S. approach with 25% tariffs on all vehicles imported from the United States that are not compliant with CUSMA, our North American Free Trade Agreement, and on the non-Canadian content of CUSMA-compliant vehicles from the United States as well. Our tariffs, though, unlike the U.S. tariffs, will not affect auto parts because we know the benefits of our integrated production system.
Right, let's just go across to my colleague Maha Siddiqui, who's joining us from Canada. Maha, take us through, we just heard Mark Carney say that he is going to be retaliating those tariffs issued by Donald Trump with purpose and with force. What is this really going to, how is this going to play out? What is this really going to mean for the people in Canada and the US?
So as far as Canada is concerned, the estimates that are being given by the government is that this will generate $8 billion annually that the government says that they will spend on the workers and the industry that is going to suffer a jolt because of the US tariffs, the tariffs by US President Donald Trump, especially against the automobile sector. 25% tariff at the moment came into effect Thursday, 12:01, that is right at midnight, and therefore we saw the retaliatory tariffs of equal measure, 25% from the Canadian side as well. Now, we are already seeing the fallout of this on workers. In fact, workers not just in Canada, but also across the border in the US, in Michigan and Indiana. Stellantis has already laid off 900 people in the automobile sector. Moreover, in Canada, they have a manufacturing plant in Ontario province, in Windsor. That has been temporarily, the production there has been temporarily paused. So there is a lot of concern about the future of that as well. So clearly, this is impacting workers. This is impacting people associated with this big industry across North America, that is the automobile industry. And that is why we are seeing specific targeted action there. Meanwhile, this is an overarching issue in the Canadian election now. The domestic issues, the very significant domestic issues earlier are now forgotten because of the larger US trade war. And of course, that has a larger implication as well. That is the reason that now everything else is now on the back burner, and only the US trade war is the big major campaign issue now.
Right. Thank you so much, Maha, for getting us all those details and breaking it down for us. Well, let's just get you more news coming in, and this is in regard to a Virgin Atlantic flight from London, which was meant to land in Mumbai, was diverted to Turkey due to an urgent medical case and also a subsequent need for a technical inspection. The airline also said that the passengers were being provided with overnight hotel accommodation and refreshments in Turkey. We will keep all the customers informed as soon as new updates become available, is what the airlines had to say. So the flight hasn't landed back in Mumbai. Do remember, it had started from London and the journey was meant to end in Mumbai, but that flight got diverted. Moving on now to more news coming in, and this is in regard to the Dharavi redevelopment project that's taking a major step forward, with railway land playing a crucial role in the rehabilitation process. A 40-acre parcel in Matunga has been allocated for resettling thousands of families as their homes in Dharavi are set to be redeveloped. Now, NDTV is the first to report from the construction site at the railway land and has spoken exclusively to the CEO of the redevelopment project. Let's listen in.
The ambitious Dharavi redevelopment project is making significant strides, particularly in utilizing railway land for the rehabilitation of residents. NDTV is the first channel to bring you an exclusive look from the ground. Reporting from the construction site, where the first phase of rehabilitation is taking shape. A 40-acre parcel of railway land in Matunga has been earmarked for the first phase of rehabilitation, where 15 to 20,000 people will be resettled as their homes in Dharavi are redeveloped sector by sector. SVR Srinivas, CEO of Dharavi Redevelopment Project, spoke exclusively to NDTV from the railway land construction site, where work is already underway. He shared insights into how this land is being used for rehabilitation, the progress made so far, and what this means for the people of Dharavi.
You know, we are at one of the key sites of this project. I believe a lot of people of Dharavi will be relocated here. Take us through the significance of this railway land, which will be used for relocation purpose. And what's the status of this? How many people will be relocated here? And the phased-wise rehabilitation of people that will take place in the days to come.
See, this site that we are in is been taken over by the Dharavi Redevelopment Authority project from the railways. And this is about roughly up to about 40 acres of land. Right now you can see the construction going on, actually, as we can see. So this is the first concrete step, you can say, a concrete step towards the redevelopment of Dharavi. And here we are planning through the SPV to redevelop and reconstruct the railway buildings which are there already here, and to redevelop a slum that is already here. At the same time, over and above that, to rehabilitate the residents, the slum dwellers and renewal tenements here of Dharavi. We are expecting about 15 to 20,000 tenements here to construct here.
This strategic use of railway land helps prevent large-scale displacement, ensuring that residents continue to have access to essential services while redevelopment takes place. While this railway land is crucial for Dharavi residents, it is also being developed to improve living conditions for railway employees. These new quarters aim to enhance housing quality and infrastructure, replacing outdated facilities and well-planned modern residences.
So this is the first phase of the project that we can see. As you know, but it has taken almost, let's say, almost 4 decades to come to this stage. So this has been conceptualized, Dharavi was conceptualized way back in 80s, right? So, but now it's now 2025. So finally, I think things are on course and yeah.
Let's get you the latest from Thailand. Prime Minister Modi is there, and of course he is attending the 6th BIMSTEC summit that is being held in Bangkok. Remember, there has been a lot of buzz regarding the meetings that Prime Minister Modi will be holding, and at the moment, of course, Prime Minister Modi is addressing the summit in Bangkok. Let's just listen in to Prime Minister Modi. Well, it is Prime Minister Modi who is there in Thailand. He is set to speak at the BIMSTEC summit. You know, he's expected to make key announcement highlighting India's commitment to regional cooperation. Prime Minister Modi also held a bilateral meeting with Senior General of the Republic of Union of Myanmar. Prime Minister Modi, of course, is there. You know, he got there yesterday. He met with the Prime Minister as well as the King of Thailand, and now he's going to be going to Sri Lanka. This is a 3-day visit of the Prime Minister. He attended the dinner last night in Bangkok, where he was welcomed by the Thailand Prime Minister. Other notable leaders at the dinner included the Bangladesh Chief Advisor Mohammad Yunus, as well as Nepal's Prime Minister. And Prime Minister was, of course, seated alongside the Nepal Prime Minister and the Bangladeshi Chief Advisor. Well, this is the Thailand Prime Minister who has officially hosted, you know, these. This is the 6th. We're talking about the 6th BIMSTEC summit, and there the Prime Minister there. This is a key maritime pact that has been signed at that 6th BIMSTEC summit. So the Prime Minister there, and of course a meeting that took place with Bangladesh's Mohammad Yunus after those comments were made, and there was a lot of speculation regarding that meeting. But however, it was Mohammad Yunus who shared that dinner photograph with Prime Minister Modi. He was seated next to him, and reports are also suggesting that Prime Minister Modi will be meeting with the Prime Minister of Nepal. So there we have Prime Minister Modi in Thailand there at that BIMSTEC summit. Do remember that this is a 3-day visit. The Prime Minister will also be going to Sri Lanka. So it is a very crucial visit when it comes to Sri Lanka, because it's the first time that the Prime Minister is going to be attending, is going to be in Sri Lanka since the new leader. This is since the new president of Sri Lanka. Now, of course, the Prime Minister came face to face, you know, with the Bangladesh Chief Advisor, and that picture also that was shared. He did arrive in Thailand yesterday, and this is in regard to him traveling to Sri Lanka for the first visit to the island since the election of its new president. In other news, let's get you the latest from Chennai. And sunflowers are literally taking over the city. What began as an individual's initiative to promote sunflowers across the city has now become a movement. The idea is to turn the city into the color yellow.
It's a very easy plant to grow. It's very easy. It brings you a lot of joy. They're great pollinators. They attract a lot of bees, butterflies. Their roots are really strong, so they're great for the soil as well. We can all come together, plant simultaneously within the same week So when they bloom in their 6 to 8 week cycle, we'll have sunflowers across. Can you visualize with me, walk with me, driving down ECR, driving down, our highways, Nungambakam, flowers are just blooming.
I took this initiative forward to about 110 kilometers away from Chennai to Tindivanam, where my pump is. Then I planted those seeds in Jan when we opened the pump. After about 2 months now, the sunflowers are ready to bloom. In a week's time, the entire pump is going to be blooming in yellow color all over the place. I want my travelers and my customers to see this yellow flower and make them feel refreshing and energized after they leave the pump.
Absolutely, what a beautiful sight. Sunflowers taking over Chennai. With that, we're slipping a very short break. Back with a whole lot more. Stay with us.
One of the worst earthquakes hit Thailand recently, and the tragedy is still unfolding. You can see some sniffer dogs here. Authorities have told me that they had located some vital signs, but they have not been able to pull anyone out. Question as to how did the 4 Chinese nationals manage to get inside such a highly fortified area. They managed to get in. They were successful in getting some 32 documents that established that Chinese connection to this site. It's also about a larger conspiracy that could be at hand. Whether the Chinese materials were substandard, all of that will have to be investigated.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
When we spoke the last time you were in India, you did mention that you've actually spent more time in India than American universities. I remember you saying that, and a lot of your thought process has been conditioned by the time you've spent in India. Those formative years, they really shaped you. What, according to you, has been your biggest takeaway from your experiences and learnings during your time in India?
Well, I grew up with Indians. From the age of 5, I was surrounded by Indians. This was a boarding school. So morning, noon, and night, we had Indian friends. Our teachers were all Indian. And as such, Indian values would have automatically permeated within me and shaped me. But more precisely, it is in the classroom. We studied Indian history, ancient history, in civilization, medieval India, modern India, the fight to independence. So all of this would have shaped me, the person I am, and my worldview. But if you ask me one specific thing that has really had a lasting impression on me, it is the National Cadet Corps, NCC. So I took part in the NCC, and I enjoyed every moment in the NCC. And every year we would look forward to taking part in the Independence Day, 15th August March Past in the Mela ground in town with all the other schools and the NCC cadets of all the other schools. The deep, indelible mark it had left on me is one of nation building. How we must work together to take our nation forward.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24x7.
Waqf bill sails through the parliament. The Prime Minister calls the Waqf bill a watershed moment. And a flight that took off from London was meant to land in Mumbai but had to be diverted to Turkey. This is a 36 hours and counting ordeal on a Virgin Atlantic flight. The passengers have been shifted to hotels. No word on when they would be returning to Mumbai. BIMSTEC summit with the Prime Minister there, meeting with the Myanmar senior general. The Prime Minister is attending that 6th edition of the BIMSTEC summit. He will then be departing for Sri Lanka later in the evening. US markets hit hard by the announcement made by Donald Trump. The markets have been wiped out of this is $2 trillion as far as the US markets are concerned. That is the reaction coming out of that announcement in regard to the reciprocal tariffs. And the IMF chief says that tariffs pose a significant risk to the global outlook and therefore appealing to the United States to reduce that uncertainty.
मेरे देश की धरती मेरे देश की धरती सोना उगले उगले हीरे मोती मेरे देश की धरती है प्रीत जहां की रीत सदा है प्रीत जहां की रीत सदा मैं गीत वहां के गाता हूँ भारत का रहने वाला हूँ भारत की बात सुनाता हूँ
Veteran actor, Bollywood actor Manoj Kumar has died at the age of 87 in Mumbai, known for his patriotic themed films such as Purab aur Paschim, Kranti. Died at the hospital in Mumbai after battling with a prolonged illness. His movies like Roti Kapda aur Makan and others have been extremely famous. They have evoked a deep sense of patriotism amongst the audiences for decades. He died at the age of 87 at the Kokila Ben Dhirubhai Ambani Hospital. The legendary Bollywood actor was a recipient of the Padma Shri as well as the Dada Saheb Phalke Award for his immense contribution to the Indian cinema. Born as Hari Krishna Giri Goswami in July of 1937, he was an admirer of films of Dilip Kumar and Ashok Kumar and therefore decided to change his name to a character that Dilip Kumar played in a film called Shabnam. Therefore, he's changed his name to Manoj Kumar. His first major success as the main lead came in 1964 with a movie that was made by Raj Khosla. It was a mystery called Wo Kaun Thi. He has been known for his patriotic films and popularly known as Bharat Kumar. He was best known for acting and directing films with patriotic themes including Shaheed, Upkar, Purab aur Paschim. He was honoured with the Padma Shri in 1992 and with the highest honour as far as films are concerned, the Dada Saheb Phalke Award in 2015. In addition to his patriotic films, he also acted and directed other films such as Haryali aur Rasta, Himalaya Ki God, Do Badan, Patthar Ke Sanam, Neel Kamal and others.
सुबह 3:30 बजे कोकिला अंबानी हॉस्पिटल में वो अस्वस्थ थे काफ़ी टाइम से, लेकिन बड़ी शिद्दत से उन्होंने हर चीज़ का मुकाबला किया है और भगवान की कृपा है, शिरडी बाबा की दया है कि वो चैन से आराम से इस दुनिया से गए। कल सुबह उनका क्रेमेशन होगा। आप सब लोगों का धन्यवाद।
And to know more on him, we have Taran Ardash joining us. Taran, a very tragic morning. The veteran actor, known for his patriotic films, there is a sense of, goosebumps that run through your body when you hear his iconic songs. They tend to, bring out those emotions even decades on. We still, feel the same emotion. An actor-director known for his patriotic films. Take us through his body of work.
Well, I think extremely deeply saddened by Manoj Saab's passing away. An icon, a stalwart. How does one describe him? He was a fantastic storyteller, a great actor, a great producer, a great person, most importantly. And I have had the fortune of interacting with him over the years, over the decades. My first interaction was during the soon after the release of Kranti, a film that he directed with the iconic Dilip Kumar Saab, and thereafter my series of interviews and interactions with him were truly memorable, a memory that I'll always cherish. Look at his body of work as an actor. I think he was a fantastic actor. Over the years, the kind of films that he acted in were truly memorable. But most importantly, as a director, right from Upkar to Purab Aur Paschim. Purab Aur Paschim, frankly, is my favorite film amongst his body of work. Shore, Roti, Kapda Aur Makan, Kranti, Clark, which didn't really work at the box office in Jai Hind. I think the ratio was superb. I mean, except for Clark and Jai Hind, which did not really work at the box office. The remaining films that you watch, the remaining films that you've seen are films that ran for 50, 75, 100 or perhaps even more weeks at the box office. And I think that was a huge, huge achievement. Kranti, I remember distinctly, was a phenomena when it released. Dilip Kumar Saab took a break of, I think, 3 or 4 years and then appeared on the big screen for Kranti, directed by Manoj Kumar Saab. In fact, the most expensive film of those times. And it was a blockbuster, an all-time blockbuster, I remember. The craze for that film was unparalleled in those days. Ditto for Purab Aur Paschim, which really was a path-breaking film in so many ways. And here's a person who always named himself Bharat in his movies, which is so beautiful. And I recall...
Taran, he was popularly known as Bharat Kumar, and acknowledging that honor, he said the honor came with a deep sense of responsibility. That is what Manoj Kumar spoke of. Take us through his acknowledgements, his collaboration, and what all he has really done as far as Indian cinema is concerned. He changed the face of Indian cinema through his patriotic films.
At a time when people were making those typical masala films, multi-starrers, he used to make multi-starrers too. Roti Kapda Makan was a multi-starrer, Kranti was a multi-starrer, Purab Aur Paschim again was a multi-starrer. But he never, how do I put it, he never went for the usual masala of lost and found or singing romantic songs just for the heck of it. There was a lost and found track in Kranti as well. There was the usual song and dance that we see associate with Bollywood movies. But if you see the kind of stories that we integrated in those films, and that was set apart Manoj Kumar Saab with other filmmakers. And I must add here that every Manoj Kumar film used to be sold on announcement itself. I mean, an achievement in those days when, today we have a studio system where they come and they announce a film. But in those days, it was territory-wise that used to be sold. But the moment Manoj Kumar Saab used to announce a film, the All India and the overseas territories were sold within hours. So that was the kind of charisma and magic that he had. As a storyteller, I think his forte was in. Genuinely, if you look at Upkar or Shore and the songs, no one played with cameras the way Manoj Kumar Saab and Vijay Anand Saab, and now more recently, in the current time, Sanjay Leela Bhansali does. Manoj Kumar Saab, you look at his songs with Rajesh, they were something else. The way he played with the camera cannot be described in mere words. He is someone who had a great sense of music and, most important, content. The kind of content that you watch you saw in his movies was very distinct, was very different from what the other filmmakers of his time, like from Prakash Mehra to Manmohan Desai to Ramesh Sippy used to make.
Right, absolutely. Taran, Adarsh, like you have described, that it's very rare to find an actor, director, that kind of combination in today's times. And of course, his body of work that is going to be remembered for generations. He leaves back behind this legacy. Take us through, what, I mean, it's very hard to choose, but what would be your favorite film of the actor?
Favorite film, of course, Shore is there. There is Utkar also. As a director, yes. Sorry. But my a film that I really, really love and admire is Purab aur Paschim. You need to watch this film. It's so beautiful, and it differentiates between the East and West and the values, and the way he shot that film, the way it was, the story was woven around those characters who have shifted to England, UK, and then they returned to their roots. It's so beautiful. I mean, the characters of Ashok Kumar Sahab, Madan Puri Sahab, as well as Pran Sahab. Pran Sahab was, in fact, I must add here that, Pran was known for his villainous role at a point of time, and he was so popular that every film used to have a Pran Sahab as a villain. But when Manoj Kumar Sahab approached him for Car, he said, "You're not playing a villain, you're playing a supporting, a strong character." And that was a turnaround in Pran Saab's career. That film fetched him several awards, and that was a turning point, not just for Manoj Kumar Saab, who was the director of the film, but also for Pran Saab, who diverted from villainous characters to a strong supporting character.
Right, Taran, Adarsh, thank you so much for sharing, the body of work of Manoj Kumar, your favorite film of Manoj Kumar, and there's so many and very hard to choose from, and that is exactly what Prime Minister Modi has also said in a tweet, saying that he's deeply saddened by the passing away of the legendary actor and filmmaker. Prime Minister Modi there calling Manoj Kumar ignited spirit of national pride that will continue to inspire generations to come. That is what Prime Minister Modi has said, saying that he was an icon of Indian cinema who was particularly remembered for his patriotic zeal. We have Abira joining us to get us more on this. Of course, Prime Minister Modi there expressing, the great loss that the film industry has. The great loss of the film industry today with the passing away of Manoj Kumar, who's died at the age of 87. Abira joining us. Abira, Well, you know, we just discussed the great body of work that the veteran actor leaves behind. He's going to live on through his cinema, through his songs. One of my favorite songs just played out, Lag Ja Gale. Of course, you know, one can't, help but remember all his songs, which, have left such a mark when it comes to the younger generations. This is going to be something that people are going to remember him by. But take us through, his contribution to the cinema, which, the Prime Minister has deeply spoken of as well, saying that he was an icon who will be remembered for his patriotical zeal and also, the fact that he ignited the spirit of national pride. Take us through, some of his most memorable films.
Absolutely, it's a huge loss for Indian cinema. He was a real Bollywood star. He started his career in 1950, but in 1960s and 70s is when he truly emerged as one of Bollywood's biggest stars. And of course, his Taran Aldesh already said, his portrayal of patriotic characters in films like Uppkar, Purab Aur Paschim and Shaheed made him a national icon. So these are the films that will be remembered for. He will be remembered for being Bharat Kumar and not Manoj Kumar, just not Manoj Kumar, he was Bharat Kumar, And throughout his illustrious career, Kumar not only acted but also directed. So he was not just an actor and also produced numerous successful films. And many of them resonated deeply with Indian audiences' sense of nationalism and pride. Like Taran Aldesh was saying, the moment he used to announce a film and the film would release, it would be sold out in an hour. It would be such huge hit. He has got for his director debut, Uppkar in 1967, did so well. And he got his national award for second best feature film. And also he got his director's skills were further showcased in films like Purab Aur Paschim and Roti Kapda Aur Makan. I mean, these are such memorable films. Our coming generations would go back to these films to just get, a schooling on filmmaking. And, the other, over the years, he also won several prestigious awards. Of course, how can we not mention the Padma Shri 1992, the Dada Saheb Phalke Award in 2015, and of course, numerous Filmfare awards. So, he was a master of all trade, and I would say he was good at everything. He was as good an actor, director. He even took a turn into his political career, where he pursued a political career. But it was around ahead of 2004 general election in India. He formally became a member of Bharatiya Janata Party. So yes, he was a man who made a mark, just not by making films, but also as a citizen of India who has also taken part in the political career of his. So yes, we can say it's a huge loss, and the whole film industry is mourning his loss today. Just not the film industry, everybody who has seen his films, his fans, our Prime Minister just tweeted. So everybody, it's a huge loss. Yes.
And his last rites will take place at 12 o'clock tomorrow on Saturday at the Pawan Hans Crematorium in Mumbai. This is the announcement that has been made by his son. Well, let's just get you, an interview from the archives. My colleague, at NDTV had interviewed Manoj Kumar. Let's listen in.
Popularly known as Bharat Kumar for his inimitable patriotic contribution to Hindi cinema. He also completes 56 years in cinema. Well, joining me is none other than Manoj Kumar himself. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
NDTV के सभी देखने और सुनने वाले श्रोताओं को उनके अपने मनोज कुमार का नमस्कार.
Let's talk about that one movie we watch every Independence Day, every Republic Day, and is also regarded as one of the trend-setting patriotic films, Shaheed.
लोग कहने को कहते हैं कि मनोज कुमार ने भगत सिंह को जिंदा किया. राम राम. भगत सिंह हमेशा जिंदा थे, जिंदा हैं, जिंदा रहेंगे. हाँ, उन पे फिल्म बनाई. उनकी माताजी ने मुझे चरण छूने दिए और मुझे बेटा कह के पुकारा. मुझे वो भगत कह के पुकारा करती थी.
Which is your most favorite scene and song from that movie?
मेरा बहुत फेवरेट सीन है जिसमें मेरी शक्ल नज़र नहीं आती, मेरी बैक है, और प्राण साहब फांसी लगने से पहले मुझसे मिलने आते हैं कि ऊपर जा रहा हूँ, और ऊपर वाले से पूछूंगा कि दुनिया भगत सिंह और कैर सिंह में कोई फर्क नहीं समझती।
Your most favorite song from that movie, though, of course, every song are beautiful.
देखिए, भगत सिंह जी और उनके साथी गाया करते थे मेरा रंग दे बसंती चोला, सिर्फ इतना था। उसमें इमोशन मैंने डाले, मेरा रंग दे बसंती चोला, माए मेरा रंग दे बसंती चोला। लेकिन ऑल टाइम ग्रेट पेट्रियाटिक सॉन्ग है वतन हमको तेरी कसम।
It's true that Lal Bahadur Shastri has said that he'll watch the movie for just 10 minutes, but stayed back for the entire
He was a
length.
tired man after 65 hours. I said, Babuji, you had promised that I will come for 10 minutes. He came for 10 minutes, and within 8 minutes I knew film ने इनको पकड़ लिया। चलती रही फिल्म, मैंने केवल पीछे बैठा था, मैंने इशारा किया, मैं ऊपर जाकर बोल दो इंटरवल नहीं करना। इंटरवल नहीं हुआ, उसके बाद उठे, उन्होंने तालियां बजाईं, फिर डायस की तरफ देखा, वहाँ माइक था, कहने लगे चलो चलें, एंड देन ही स्पोक फॉर अबाउट 20 मिनट्स। और फिर रात को 2 बजे मुझे फ़ोन आया PM हाउस से कि सुबह बाबूजी ने बुलाया है। मैं गया तो उन्होंने कहा, मैंने बेटे नारा दिया है जय जवान जय किसान, क्या इससे फिल्म बन सकती है? तो मेरे अंदर एक बिजली सी कौंध गई, और मैं डीलक्स ट्रेन का यात्री हूँ, हवा में उड़ने से परहेज़ करता हूँ। तो ये था, मैंने बोला मोटी सी डायरी ले दो, 2000 बाल पेन ले दो, और 24 घंटे में बॉम्बे सेंट्रल पहुँचते तक उपकार की कहानी लिखी गई थी। फिर 10 दिन लगे स्क्रीन प्ले डायलॉग लिखने में, बस शुरू हो गए।
मेरे देश की धरती, मेरे देश की धरती, सोना उगले उगले हीरे मोती, मेरे देश की धरती, मेरे देश की धरती है प्रीत जहाँ की रीत सदा, है प्रीत जहाँ की रीत सदा, मैं गीत वहाँ के गाता हूँ, भारत का रहने वाला हूँ, भारत की बात सुनाता हूँ।
The Waqf Amendment Bill has been passed in the Rajya Sabha after it was passed in the Lok Sabha. The voting was 128 votes in favour of the bill and 95 against. And my colleague Vasudha joining us from the Parliament and getting us all the very details. Of course, the arguments were on expected lines as far as that discussion went on for hours and hours, Vasudha, with Kiran Rijiju there dismissing allegations that the bill would harm Muslim interests.
Absolutely, Divya. What we saw in the last 2 days, intense discussions, deliberations on the Waqf Amendment Bill. This is, this is not just ideological and political for the BJP. It's also being seen as a reform move. But the opposition has completely dismissed that argument, calling this, a divisive move and also a ploy by the BJP to divide Hindus and Muslims, to create a wedge between these communities. But the ruling party, the ruling coalition, has put forward a show of strength. In fact, it just not got its allies, but also the neutral parties to not issue a whip and ensure that they also vote as per their conscience. In fact, a lot of them came out and said that they voted in support of the bill, whereas for the opposition, it was also a united show, but most of them centered their arguments on the constitution, something that has politically worked for them. They said that this was Article 26 that gives Muslims the right to manage their own properties. What really worked for the NDA is also that in the last few years, we have had many complaints, from several parts of the country where private land has been announced, has been claimed to be Waqf properties, and that has also led residents to come up and speak on the rights being sacrificed. We saw a recent incident in Munambam happening, which is in Kerala. There are also similar incidents that have cropped up from Telangana, also Yamunanagar in the north of India, and also in Tamil Nadu, which also gave the BJP a lot of, experiences to narrate and make it about a problem that needs immediate solution. The BJP also lashed out at the opposition, saying that had the Congress party brought in the required amendments in the 2013, amendment to the Act, this bill would not have been required. Let's look at some reactions before we get in our guest now.
हमने रिकमेंडेशन दिया, अमेंडमेंट दिया, उसको सरकार ने स्वीकार किया। आज उस जेपीसी के लिए हमारे लिए कितना संतोष का विषय है, क्योंकि निश्चित तौर से शायद इतिहास में पहली बार होगा कि इस जेपीसी के एक्सरसाइज करने के बाद उसकी सभी रिकमेंडेशंस को सरकार ने स्वीकार किया। तो ये पार्लियामेंट्री डेमोक्रेसी में जो स्पीकर साहब ने एक बनाया था जेपीसी कमेटी, ये एक तरह से पार्लियामेंट्री डेमोक्रेसी को मजबूत करने वाला है।
You can see the division in the country, even in terms of the numbers, because there are substantial numbers which have opposed the bill. So this will have political implications, and especially in respect of political parties who have given the support to the BJP, because there's an election in Bihar coming. And of course it makes very little difference to the TDP, because their elections are far away. But at least historically, they will be remembered for having supported the bill.
कोई इसमें ज़बरदस्त समर्थन नहीं है। ये जानबूझकर अपने बहुमत का दुरुपयोग करके जोर ज़बरदस्ती से गणतांत्रिक तरीके से नहीं, ये डाला गया है, थोपा गया है। ये बहुत हद तक जो स्वायत्त है, ऑटोनॉमी है, अधिकार क्षेत्र है, अपने खुद के संस्थाओं को स्वचालित करने का मुस्लिम समुदाय में, उसको ये हनन करता है, ले लेता है, नष्ट कर देता है। इसलिए मैं इसको संवैधानिक मानता हूँ और ये दुराव करेगा, ये आपसी वैमनस्य करेगा, अविश्वास करेगा, इसलिए मैं इसकी भर्त्सना करता हूँ।
This is a black day of the Indian secular, the secular India, the history of secular India, like 1992, December 6th, Babri Masjid demolition day, like that. It's a black spot of the Indian secular India. So anyway, this is absolutely an unconstitutional resolution. Legislation. So I strongly believe that. I do believe that it would be a challenge before the court.
Well, 128 votes in favor of the bill in the Rajya Sabha yesterday, and also 95 against it. In the Lok Sabha, the picture was slightly different, with 288 votes in favor of the bill, and also there's one thing, and 232 votes against the bill. What is important here is that there was a shift in the attitude of the opposition, with the opposition also not walking out, not staging protests, but taking part in deliberations, which is what the government also wanted. In fact, the ruling party had made it very clear that it wants this to be a consultative process. Let me get in my guests now, Geeta Bhatt, political analyst, and also Asad Abbas, who's also a political commentator. Geeta Bhatt, both of you, thank you so much for joining me on this broadcast. Geeta Bhatt, how do you see the politics of Waqf bill playing out in the context of this speculation, last year when the Lok Sabha elections happened and the results came out, that the BJP will be far more careful now, the fact that it relies on the on its allies, especially TDP and JDU. But the way TDP and JDU have supported BJP in the Waqf amendment bill shows that the party has complete upper hand over its allies. In fact, it also got the neutral parties to ensure that there's no whip and there's no opposition to this bill. Is this also because of the BJP's subsequent and continuous electoral victories in state elections, especially Maharashtra, Delhi, and also Haryana? Is that what the BJP now is in this commanding position?
Well, you see, electoral wins definitely, have a role to play in this. But along with it, I think what is more important is that the amendments that have been introduced, 44 of them, they are something which were in the favor of and for the welfare of the, marginalized Muslims, from whom this Waqf board was supposed to work for their welfare. And therefore, one could see that there was a lot of ground support from the community itself. One could see it on social media, on various debates which were happening, political debates or otherwise, that a large number of people were wanting from the community, from the Muslim community, were wanting that this kind of a change needs to come so as to bring transparency in the functioning of the Waqf board. I mean, imagine that a kind of a draconian law which was over and above of every other law. The decision taken by the Waqf board with respect to any property could not be contested or challenged in the Supreme Court. I mean, how one can think when we are saying that we are a secular country, our constitution is secular.
Well,
Where
that
such
I
kind
think
of
is
a
the most
provision can
important
find it?
point here, Geeta. But Asad Abbas, this point that Geeta Bhatt is talking about, any property gets arbitrarily announced as a Waqf property. We all know that law works, the implementation of law is key here. Sometimes these problems do happen in this country. But the fact that these disputes remain unresolved for years, and there have been multiple incidents of private land or land owned by other communities being completely called, announced and claimed as Waqf property the last few years. We've seen that in Tamil Nadu, Telangana, the Munambam issue in Kerala is the recent one. Do you think the removal of Section 40 from the Waqf bill, which also ensures that arbitrarily there'll be no announcements, there'll be no claiming of any land as Waqf property, do you think that is a reform that was much needed? Do you think that could be appreciated?
Vasudhaji, I've always believed if there is great power, there is great responsibility and equal accountability. Well, you've mentioned something very important, and I'm glad. The fact of the matter is, be it the Munambam case in Kerala or even otherwise, it is not okay for Waqf boards to come out there and say this is our land. No. There's a state appointed commissioner who comes in, who verifies the documents, the papers, so on and so forth, and only then, if it is found to be legitimate, it is taken forward. It is not a banana republic where the Waqf can say, okay, this is a Waqf property and it's ours. Absolutely no. Even then, there was a state government appointed process followed by the survey commissioner. Also, as a matter of fact, now let us understand with respect to this bill. My opinion of this bill is it is absolutely unconstitutional, and it is a grave violation of Article 14, 25, 26, 29. 14 because 14 article speaks of the equality of law. 25, practice of religion. 26, where the respective religions are allowed to manage their own affairs, and 29 protects its rights. Let me tell you, never do we see a non-Hindu member become a member in the Hindu Endowment Board. The fact of the matter is, even during the JPC, the Joint Parliamentary Committee, which was chaired by Jagdambika Pal Sahab, many a times, many of the clauses were not even discussed. Asaduddin Owaisi, A. Raja, and several other leaders who were a part of JPC from the opposition time and again said that they were stonewalled. These laws were bulldozed amongst them. Many of the discussions were not held. Mr. Jagdambika Pal even held unilateral meetings, excluding many of the members. Also, Vasudhaji, we need to understand that the Bar Council of India has highlighted concerns over potential violations of national justice, particularly regarding the role of the district collector.
Okay, let
Yes,
me
we
get in
do
Geeta
see
Bhatt
that,
here. See, Asad Abbas is making, some very important points, saying that, this process was not consultative. But what we saw in the parliament was entirely different because, the discussion went on for over, 12 hours in each house. In fact, it was going on beyond 2 o'clock yesterday, 2 a.m. yesterday. Ma'am, when this charge comes up that the process was not consultative, opposition MP saying that the dissent notes were not made part of the final report, how do you see this being addressed by the BJP? Because trust deficit or the need to build confidence is going to be key in the implementation of this act. Do you think that the BJP will also have to, possibly take this law to the ground, ensure that communities on the ground, the actual mutawalis and waqifs, don't feel alienated? Do you think that kind of exercise awareness is also important here?
Well, yes, awareness about the amendments that have been made that must be put in, in the public forum, and those who are the beneficiaries and those who feel, or there is a kind of a propaganda which is also being done by the opposition that this is going to bring harm to the Muslim community, also needs to be addressed. But at the same time, one also has to understand that this is totally democratic process under which, as well as per the constitution of this country, the parliament had set up a JPC. There was a consultative affair which was going on for months together under Jagdambika Palji. There were more than 200 dissents which were noted. There were amendments which were made, and along with it, hours-long discussion which took place in Lok Sabha and in Rajya Sabha very well shows that these amendments have been brought as per the constitution provisions which have been laid in this country. And at the same time, also we have to understand that I mean, in Tamil Nadu, a village is being taken over by the Waqf by saying that this land is ours. And this came into highlight only when a farmer went actually to sell his land. That he was told that he does not own this property, this belongs to Waqf. And this is just one incident I am quoting. So, when a particular act stands over and above the state revenue laws, I mean, this is something which is not at all justifiable. And these are the kind of amendments that have been put forth, and the district collector was under the survey team which was constituted totally by the Waqf board earlier. The district collector did not have any say in it.
Okay,
He actually had
Asad Abbas, when you talk about the
the
discourse that happened in the parliament, for a lot of us, it feels that this needs to be the norm because there were no disruptions. There was disagreement, but there were also deliberations. All MPs came really prepared. In fact, we all talked about who spoke really well, what points they made. What did you think about the discussion, and especially the shift in the opposition strategy that we're not walking out, we're not protesting. In fact, we are taking part in this discussion because we are also elected representatives, and our people back home in our constituencies need to hear what points we have put forward. So do you think that this is actually the way forward, when it comes to the working of the parliament?
Vasudha-ji, I believe that the Bharatiya Janata Party, when it comes to JPC, which is a closed meeting of the representatives of member of parliaments from the opposition, but here they cannot do away with it. The discussion in Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha needs to happen. Here they cannot bulldoze anything what Mr. Pal did as alleged by the JPC members. We need to understand that even the UPA rule or the NDA rule, these debates, discussions needs to happen. There are no two ways about it. Previously, I was making a very important point that the Bar Council of India has highlighted concerns over potential violations of natural justice, particularly regarding the district collectors adjudicating property status despite the representation of state interests. Here we will see a conflict. District collector, normally what he's assessing, his functioning is for the state's interest. Now, this is a religious affair, religious matter. Many times that the Waqf board has blamed, oh, it's been draconian law and they bulldoze through. The fact is, many a times in the tribunals of the Waqf board itself has lost many cases when the opposite party has the relevant documents. So therefore, we need to understand this. Last point, Vasudha-ji.
Okay, so
now,
that I agree with you because implementation is going to be key.
Last
but
point, please,
Geeta
just
Bhatt's
10
point
seconds.
that this is also
10 seconds.
This is also reflective of the BJP's growing strength and the fact that this is a party, this is a new BJP. In fact, opposition did talk about the 2013 BJP, which actually approved the amendments that were brought in by the Congress party. But I think that will be, that's a very different argument. That's an unnecessary argument because at the end of the day, this is a new BJP. It has shown that when it comes to ideological promises, political promises, it will not compromise. We've seen, not just Article 370, but also the Ram Temple and also the CAA, and now the Waqf prom is being delivered, and it not just strengthens the BJP as an ideological party, but also how will this politically play out is going to be very different because socio-political consequences are often different and implications of policy are often interesting when it comes to what electoral results will be. With that, it's a wrap on the discussion. Thank you, Geeta Bhatt, and thank you, Asad Abbas, for joining me this morning. Back to the studio.
Well, Vasudha, thanks for breaking it down for us. But also, what really news coming in regard to the Congress moving an adjournment motion in the Lok Sabha, seeking that immediate discussion when it comes to the United States' decision to impose retaliatory tariffs on Indian exports. Now, this is after Donald Trump's announcement. Now, in the notice, the Congress has emphasized the urgent and pressing need to debate the economic ramifications of these tariffs. So, Vasudha, of course, the Congress are calling on the government to outline its strategy in order to mitigate the damage and protect India's trade interests.
Both Manish Tiwari and also Manikam Tagore from the Congress party have given adjournment motions to the speaker seeking they want discussions on the diplomatic relations between India and US, and also they want a discussion on the kind of impact that Donald Trump's tariffs will have on India. Remember that there are two sets of tariffs here. One is a base tariff and also country-specific tariffs. So 26% tariffs on India. Remember, the Commerce Ministry has already said that it is looking at this issue. It is examining this issue in detail. It is in fact talking to sector-specific experts. It's talking to industry stakeholders and will be coming out with a response soon. It's in fact, also working towards an agreement with US, and that is with regard to the bilateral trade agreement. Remember, US remains our most important trade partner, and even diplomatically for geopolitical standing of India, US is very important, which is what was noted by Mr. Rahul Gandhi yesterday, who was also the leader of opposition, saying that these tariffs have been imposed on India by India's own ally, and India needs to respond to that. Earlier in the session, P. Chidambaram, the former finance minister and also Congress MP, said that India needs to join saner voices in this regard. Remember, other countries in the West have been taking on Donald Trump. In fact, they have also been issuing reciprocal tariffs, but India has been very cautious because it understands that this is a tightrope to walk. While it has to maintain relations, diplomatic relations with the US, it also has to ensure that its trade remains fine with the US. So it is walking a careful line, a balanced approach is being taken by India. And today, the Congress MPs are insisting on a discussion on tariffs because they feel it is going to be important, the kind of impact it may have on our agricultural sector, on our auto sector, and for that matter, even garments. That needs to be discussed, and the government needs to also talk about the kind of approach it is taking towards this issue. So that's something that is expected to come up today on the last day of the Parliament.
Right, Vasudha, of course, emphasizing the urgent and pressing need to debate the economic ramifications of these tariffs, warning the increased tariffs would severely impact price-sensitive sectors such as textiles, jewelry, pharmaceuticals, as well as chemicals. Thank you so much, Vasudha, for getting us those details. Now let's get you the latest as far as Prime Minister Modi's Thailand visit is concerned. Do remember that he's attending the BIMSTEC summit. He also met with Myanmar's senior general as his country grapples with the aftermath of the massive earthquake that has claimed over 3,000 lives. Prime Minister Modi met with senior general, the head of Myanmar's military government, on the sidelines of the summit meeting of the leaders of the Bay of Bengal initiative for multi-sectoral and technical cooperation. The Prime Minister held a bilateral with Thailand's Prime Minister with the focus on ways to deepen political exchanges, defense as well as security cooperation and strategic engagement between India and Thailand. There was also a dinner late last night, and at that dinner was Prime Minister Modi seated next to Nepal's Prime Minister, as well as we're talking about Bangladesh's Mohammad Yunus, who was spotted, and he also, tweeted that picture. This was the first meeting between the two leaders, as the remarks that were made by Mohammad Yunus. And Vishal joining us from Thailand to get us more on this. Vishal, of course, Mohammad Yunus, has, put out on social media platforms that picture with Prime Minister Modi. He was seated next to Prime Minister Modi, and this, of course, comes as the first picture after the remarks that were made by Mohammad Yunus in regard to Northeast being landlocked.
That is correct. So all eyes are on the meeting between Mohammad Yunus and PM Modi. It has not been confirmed by the Indian side as yet, but we have spoken to some sources in Dhaka. They have told us that the meeting will go through, but they have not told us the exact timing. And there's also another important meeting of Nepal PM KP Sharma Oli meeting with PM Narendra Modi. That is also on the cards as per sources and Nepalese media, but that too has not been confirmed. These two meetings are sort of overshadowing BIMSTEC summit itself, because as we've been reporting, BIMSTEC summit has not really been able to go up to the level of other Asian groups, South Asian groups such as ASEAN and SAARC. this is the leaders of BIMSTEC themselves highlighting in some of the meetings in leading up to the summit itself, and they have said that it needs to step up. The BIMSTEC group needs to step up. So that shows this example, this earthquake is the latest example as to a collectivity shown by the group. The group wants to show that collectivity, but so far has not been able to. There have been some respect that have been paid by the group, but it remains to be seen if there will be a collective response in a situation such as the Myanmar earthquake, because so far there has almost always been just pockets of responses from the member nations, but a collective response is lacking. The group needs a lot more funding. A lot more experts, intellectuals have told us that it has only a fraction of funding that other South Asian groups have. So that is one of the things that will need to be ironed out. And there have been several meetings and 6 MOUs were signed between India and Thailand that cover from IT to MSMEs to handloom and handicraft. Very important meeting between Indian Prime Minister and the Thai PM yesterday, where the close connect, the deep-rooted cultural connect was also highlighted when the Indian diaspora presented the Thai version of the Ramayana. So that was also highlighted, the cultural connect that all of the Asian countries enjoy. So all of that has been happening, and the all-important summit has now begun. They have started the summit by paying homage to the victims of the Myanmar and Thailand earthquake. What happens in the meeting, that remains to be seen, and the rest of the meetings, the bilaterals, will follow after that.
Right, thank you so much, Vishal, for getting us all those details. Now, after the Supreme Court ordered to stop all sort of development activities carried on the 400 acres of land next to the Hyderabad University, now the Telangana government has decided to form a panel in its reaction to the Supreme Court coming down heavily on the action taken by the government. Now, this panel, consisting of a group of ministers, will be talking to stakeholders, including students of the Hyderabad University. They will be also talking to activists involved in the protests in order to determine the next course of action. Uma joining us to get us more on this. Uma, the Supreme Court has, questioned what really was that compelling urgency to undertake the development activities, including the removal of trees from the forest area.
After the Supreme Court's very scathing remarks on the Telangana government with regard to the use of JCBs and the clearing of over 100 acres of land, according to the report that was submitted by the Telangana High Court Registrar to the Supreme Court, the Telangana government is now doing, should I say, a damage control exercise by having this committee of very senior ministers, including the Deputy Chief Minister Batti Vikramarka, Sridhar Babu, IT Minister, and also Ponguleti Srinivas Reddy. And they are going to be talking to the executive committee of the university, to the student unions, to the JAC, as well as to other activists and stakeholders in this exercise. But it would appear to be a little late in the day, because when the tension was rising over the last weekend, when the JCBs were stationed and the protests of the students over the last 4 days, the government did not come forward to really invite them for talks. Yes, Mr. Sridhar Babu did say that we are open to talking with the students, protesting students, and so on and so forth, but no announcement like this was made. And now perhaps when the Supreme Court has already made very serious comments on this issue, saying that they think that what is happening is very alarming, that no one is above law, and also making the Chief Secretary responsible for ensuring that not one more tree is cut there, and saying that she may be personally held liable for whatever else happens, and also asking very important questions to the Chief Secretary, saying, have you in fact conducted any kind of an environment impact assessment? Have you taken permissions of all the requisite authorities? And what was the compelling urgency for you to do that? And in the same light, the discussion also came about the March 4 order of the Supreme Court, in which they had said that expert committees need to be constituted in every state that will look at not just forest lands but also forest-like lands, and that not even an inch or no percentage of that forest land should go down in the 6-month period that the committee will take to give a comprehensive report to the Supreme Court. And therefore, this would be seen as a violation of that order of the court which came on March 4 and that was directed at the chief secretaries of all the states. And in this case, why the state government was allowed to go ahead with a move like this is something that the Apex Court is now decided to ask answers for, and therefore perhaps the exercise that is being carried out in the form of a group of ministers committee may not be able to achieve much in terms of taking this discussion forward.
Right. Thank you so much, Uma, for getting us all those details. We will keep coming back to you for more on that. For now, we're slipping into a short break. Back with a whole lot more.
One of the worst earthquakes hit Thailand recently, and the tragedy is still unfolding. You can see some sniffer dogs here. Authorities have told me that they had located some vital signs, but they have not been able to pull anyone out. Question as to how did the 4 Chinese nationals manage to get inside such a highly fortified area. They managed to get in. They were successful in getting some 32 documents that established that Chinese connection to this site. It's also about a larger conspiracy that could be at hand. Whether the Chinese materials were substandard, all of that will have to be investigated.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
When we spoke the last time you were in India, you did mention that you've actually spent more time in India than American universities. I remember you saying that, and a lot of your thought process has been conditioned by the time you've spent in India. Those formative years, they really shaped you. What, according to you, has been your biggest takeaway from your experiences and learnings during your time in India?
Well, I grew up with Indians. From the age of 5, I was surrounded by Indians. This was a boarding school. So morning, noon, and night, we had Indian friends. Our teachers were all Indian. And as such, Indian values would have automatically permeated within me and shaped me. But more precisely, it is in the classroom. We studied Indian history, ancient history, in civilization, medieval India, modern India, the fight to independence. So all of this would have shaped me, the person I am, and my worldview. But if you ask me one specific thing that has really had a lasting impression on me, it is the National Cadet Corps, NCC. So I took part in the NCC, and I enjoyed every moment in the NCC. And every year we would look forward to taking part in the Independence Day, 15th August March Past in the Mela ground in town with all the other schools and the NCC cadets of all the other schools. The deep, indelible mark it had left on me is one of nation building. How we
Welcome back. Time to get you a special story from Assam, where in a groundbreaking conservation effort, the 150-year separation of the only ape in India in This is, as far as Assam's Jorhat district is concerned, is set to end. My colleague Ratnadeep has this story.
A fragile habitat, an innovative solution to keep it going. This is the Holongapar Gibbon Wildlife Sanctuary, deep in the jungles of Assam's Jorhat district near Mariani. A prime habitat of the Hulak gibbon, India's only ape species, one of humans' closest evolutionary cousins. For years, both the gibbons and the humans in charge of protecting them in this fragile habitat, a 21-kilometer wildlife sanctuary, have faced a unique issue. This British-era railway line that connects the tea and oil-rich Upper Assam region, the town of Dibrugarh, to Mariani and onwards Guwahati, and bisects the sanctuary, has prevented the Hulak gibbons from moving freely between the two sections of the sanctuary. Unlike other primates, Hulak gibbons do not descend to the ground, relying solely on the tree branches for movement. This fragmentation has led to a decline in breeding, threatening their population.
इंडिया में एक ही ऐप बचा हुआ है, वो है गिबन, और ये गिबन नॉर्थ ईस्ट में 5 स्टेट में मिलते हैं, अरुणाचल, नागालैंड, मणिपुर और असम। ये 4-5 स्टेट में से असम में ज़्यादातर एक गिबन वाइल्ड लाइफ सेंचुरी में मिलते हैं, और एक गिबन अभी संकट में है।
In order to bridge this gap, authorities decided to come up with a unique initiative to develop canopies by using ropes which are of mountaineering grade. In fact, experts from different sectors like wildlife and mountaineering have put their brains together to come up with this project, which will help the gibbons to cross over from one section to another over the railway track, and thereby uniting their families after decades.
The Wildlife Institute of India was approached by the Assam Forest Department to assist them in designing this artificial canopy bridge to facilitate the movement of Hulak gibbons who were separated by this railway track, which is a broad gauge single line railway track. So WIA has prepared a design plan for this artificial canopy bridge, and we have provided to the Assam Forest Department, and they are now implementing this particular design.
The Forest Department aims to complete the project soon. It will mark a historic milestone in wildlife conservation, restoring the natural movement of the gibbons after a century and a half.
The main purpose of this rope bridge is to connect the two compartments, which is being separated by the existing railway track which is going inside the gibbon sanctuary. They are arboreal species, and they don't generally come down to the ground for crossing over the compartments. So
one of the worst earthquakes hit Thailand recently, and the tragedy is still unfolding. You can see some sniffer dogs here. Authorities have told me that they had located some vital signs, but they have not been able to pull anyone out. Question as to how did the 4 Chinese nationals manage to get inside such a highly fortified area. They managed to get in. They were successful in getting some 32 documents that established that Chinese connection to this site. It's also about a larger conspiracy that could be at hand. Whether the Chinese materials were substandard, all of that will have to be investigated.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24x7.
Land at Kancha Gachibauli near adjoining the University of Hyderabad. Parliament in the wee hours of Friday morning cleared the Waqf Amendment Bill 2025 after nearly 14 hours of debate in Rajya Sabha by 128 members voting in favour and 95 against. The Prime Minister calls this a watershed moment. More than 250 passengers on a Virgin Atlantic flight, a large number of them Indian, are stranded at a small military airport in southeastern Turkey. They have been stuck there since Wednesday morning. It's been about 40 hours for them. Prime Minister Modi attends the BIMSTEC summit in Thailand's Bangkok. Leaders discuss trade, defence and security ties. Legendary actor Manoj Kumar dies at 87 after battling a prolonged illness. A conservation challenge for authorities in Assam. We get you a special report on Assam's hula gibbons. It's 10 a.m. You are watching NDTV 24x7. I'm Parmeshwar Bava. A big focus at the moment, the Telangana government has constituted a 3-member committee of ministers to resolve the issue that relates to the 400 acres of land at Kancha Gachibauli adjoining the University of Hyderabad. Now, this committee will consult with the University of Hyderabad Executive Committee, the Joint Action Committee and civil society groups, students' delegations and all stakeholders to resolve and give a way forward in this Kancha Gachibauli land issue. This move came hours after the Supreme Court stayed tree felling and other developmental works on the land. In fact, as we had covered extensively, the Supreme Court on Thursday took a serious view of tree felling on the land and directed the state government to stop all developmental activities on the site till further orders. My colleague Uma Sudhir has been tracking all the finer developments. Listen in to her report.
After the Supreme Court's very scathing remarks on the Telangana government with regard to the use of JCBs and the clearing of over 100 acres of land, according to the report that was submitted by the Telangana High Court Registrar to the Supreme Court, the Telangana government is now doing, should I say, a damage control exercise by having this committee of very senior ministers, including the Deputy Chief Minister Batti Vikramarka, Sridhar Babu, IT Minister, and also Ponguleti Srinivas Reddy. And they are going to be talking to the executive committee of the university, to the student unions, to the JAC, as well as to other activists and stakeholders in this exercise. But it would appear to be a little late in the day, because when the tension was rising over the last weekend, when the JCBs were stationed and the protests of the students over the last 4 days, the government did not come forward to really invite them for talks. Yes, Mr. Sridhar Babu did say that we are open to talking with the students, protesting students and so on and so forth, but no announcement like this was made. And now perhaps when the Supreme Court has already made very serious comments on this issue, saying that they think that what is happening is very alarming, that no one is above law, and also making the Chief Secretary responsible for ensuring that not one more tree is cut there, and saying that she may be personally held liable for whatever else happens, and also asking very important questions to the Chief Secretary, saying Have you, in fact, conducted any kind of an environment impact assessment? Have you taken permissions of all the requisite authorities? And what was the compelling urgency for you to do that? And in the same light, the discussion also came about the March 4 order of the Supreme Court, in which they had said that expert committees need to be constituted in every state that will look at not just forest lands but also forest-like lands, and that not even an inch or no percentage of that forest land should go down in the 6-month period that the committee will take to give a comprehensive report to the Supreme Court. And therefore, this would be seen as a violation of that order of the court which came on March 4, and that was directed at the chief secretaries of all the states. And in this case, why the state government was allowed to go ahead with a move like this is something that the Apex Court has now decided to ask answers for, and therefore perhaps the exercise that is being carried out in the form of a group of ministers committee may not be able to achieve much in terms of taking this discussion forward.
With that, let's turn our attention now to the other big story we're tracking. Veteran Bollywood actor Manoj Kumar has died at 87 in Mumbai. He was battling a prolonged illness, is what we're given to understand. But the legendary actor was known for his roles in Purab aur Paschim, Kranti. He was known for his roles particularly in patriotic films. He has died at 87 in Mumbai at 4 a.m. this morning at Kokila Bendhiru Ambani Hospital. But the legendary Bollywood actor, as you know, was a recipient of the prestigious Padma Shri and Dada Saheb Phalke Award for his immense contribution to Indian cinema. In fact, Prime Minister Modi has paid rich tributes to Manoj Kumar, lauding him as an icon of Indian cinema. In fact, as tributes pour in, we're also joined by Madhur Bhandarkar over the phone line at the moment. Sir, thank you so much for making time for us. Any fond memories you'd like to share with us as far as your relationship with Manoj Kumar is concerned?
Not, Manoj ji had been inspiration for us. We as a kids grown up watching Manoj Kumar ji's movie. Be it Upkar, Purab Paschim, Kranti, Roti Kapda Makan, all these movies, sure. His movies were iconic. It was full of national pride, patriotism. It had a message also to the people in large, And always his song picturization was completely different from the different filmmakers. The storytelling was such, people were hooked on of Manoj Kumar cinema, that whole 70s, 80s era was Manoj Kumar cinema, which really, really got us good songs, good patriotic feeling. And I had a team times meeting him, I used to go and sit with him, talk to him, interact with him many times. And he was always admire my work, always used to encourage me. Hey, Madhur, you're doing some work, very nice, So, I had so much of trivia he used to share of his old movies, I used to sit and talk. And it is not about his filmmaking, it is about his actor also. During his, where he was actor like films like Donal or Wo Kaun Thi, Ya Do Badan, all these movies. So, I had a great interaction with him. It's sad that today, Manoj is no more with us, but his contribution, his films will be definitely resonate with the audience. Large generation of the filmmaker will always like and see Manoj Kumar's movie, and they may get inspired a lot of things, or dialogue, storytelling, or song picturization.
Right, sir. Which performances of Manoj Kumar have left you in awe? Which movies are still etched in your heart, if you'd like to talk to us about that?
You wouldn't believe it. Yesterday only I was sitting in my office with my team, and I have a poster in my office of Manoj Kumar ji's Roti Kapda Makan poster.
Right.
Okay, that one movie which I always say, I was just telling my assistant director, who are very Gen Z, very young. A lot of people have not seen it, a lot of people have seen it. So I was just telling this Gen Z, all this assistants, I said you all should watch this movie because of the screenplay, because of the unfolding of the film, because the way it was shot, the way the story goes on with multiple tracks, and the song picturization. So I was just telling that, and today morning when I came to about Manoj's, no, that's absolutely sad. His performance was like, I said, we are seeing, I think one film which was really stuck with everybody was film Shaheed, where he played Bhagat Singh Ji. I think that movie definitely till today also on any patriotic day in our country, where be it 26th February from January or 15th August, we do play his songs, you know. It's definitely connected it's today also, you know, and the Rangbati Basanti song, you know. So I feel Manoj Kumar performance was various. I mean to say, he did a lot of different kind of roles, different kind of characters in movies. But I mean to say, Bhagat Singh was one film which we definitely always had this image of Manoj Kumar sir, you know, of playing Bhagat Singh. You know, that movie definitely till today also keeps on, you know, make us remember that Bhagat Singh so iconic.
Mr. Bhandarkar, if you have to recommend a movie of his to the younger generation, what's the one movie that you would recommend that the younger generation watches?
I think there are lots of movies, but I think two movies they have to watch, the young generation. One is Pura Aur Pachchim, about the family values, about our Indian culture. You know, it's still today also resonate, I said. And one movie, Roti Kapda Makan, because at those time, it was very contemporary India they were speaking about. You know?
Right.
So these three movies, still the younger generation should see. And not only see, because they should learn, because the kind of subject it was, the kind of thought it was, behind the thought in 70s, it was huge. I think these two movies, definitely that is there on YouTube or I think some OTT platform, they should watch it.
Right, and as we wrap, sir, any words of wisdom of Manoj Kumar that have stuck with you, any special memories you'd like to disclose to our viewers and share with us?
Yeah, I think whenever I meet him, he's always say, Madhu, the kind of cinema you make, you stick to your hard-hitting, real kind of cinema. Don't change your style because somebody else will tell you. Maybe some movie won't work, some will work, but stick to your originality. Be the OG what you are. And always stick to the conviction which you believe in it. I think those are the words that always resonate with me, what Manojji has told me.
Sir, thank you so much for joining us with your kind words and your tribute on NDTV. We look forward to staying in touch with you. But at 87, legendary actor Manoj Kumar has died. He was battling a prolonged illness, is what we're given to understand, but tributes have been pouring in as he was considered an icon of Indian cinema. Well, switching tracks, hours after the passage of the Waqf Amendment Bill 2025, well, in both houses of Parliament, Prime Minister Modi has called it a watershed moment. The arguments, though, were on expected lines as Minority Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju dismissed allegations that this bill would harm Muslim interests and asserted that non-Muslims cannot interfere in the Waqf Board's affairs as its management, creation and beneficiaries would remain exclusively for Muslims. Union Minister J.P. Nadda accused the opposition of attempting to divert and derail the issue, while Congress's Mallikarjun Kharge said that this bill would sow the seeds for dispute. My colleague Vasudha Venugopal has been tracking all the developments for us. She joins us live at the moment. Vasudha, it's over to you. Take us through the latest developments.
Well, thank you, Parmeshwar. Good morning to you. Good morning to all our viewers. We come to you from outside the Parliament, and it's an important day. It's the last day of the second part of the budget session that began on the 10th of March. And of course, the second part of the budget session that began on the 10th of March, 20 sittings, it gets over today. It's been quite a dramatic session. It all started on a bitter note with this fierce fight between DMK and BJP over the three-language policy. And while there were speculations that the entire session is going to be full of discord, the Waqf discussions that took place both in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha in the course of the last 2 days have proved that the Parliament is capable of having deliberations that can have discord and disagreement, but will also have, a cordial discussion to it. And of course, in the last 2 days, we saw that the BJP, the NDA, has managed to pass the Waqf Amendment Bill. It was a contentious bill to start with. It was introduced last year, and then it was sent to the Joint Parliamentary Committee. The Joint Parliamentary Committee met for 38 sittings, and it also managed to give a report to which the opposition MPs then alleged that their dissenting notes had not been added. But of course, the JPC managed to have a consultative process in place. Feedback was sought from different sectors, and then the Waqf bill was reintroduced in the Lok Sabha on Wednesday, and then on Thursday in the Rajya Sabha. On Wednesday, we did see a lot of fierce discussions between the opposition, including MIM's Asaduddin Owaisi JPC speaking and saying that this bill was entirely against the spirit of the Constitution and violates Article 26 that gives Muslims the power to manage their own properties. We also saw Gaurav Gogoi of the Congress Party, KC Venugopal of the Congress Party speaking. Amit Shah, the Home Minister, also spoke, and he was the one who clarified in great detail every clause of the bill, saying that this bill is not against the rights of the Muslims. And in fact, the government does not want non-Muslim interference in any of the religious matters of the bill. In fact, the non-Muslims who will be part of Waqf councils and Waqf boards will only be indulging in administrative affairs. The government has made it very clear that this is a property reform, this is a land reform that is going to benefit Pasmanda Muslims. Even in the course of the discussion that took place yesterday, Rajya Sabha MPs made it very clear, those from the opposition, that this is going to be a reform move, and this was echoed by the Prime Minister today when in his tweet posted on X, he has made it clear that this move is geared towards a modern India and also towards a compassionate India, and the modernization of Waqf boards will ensure that Pasmanda Muslims and those who live on the fringes get benefited. He also said that the existing system of Waqf was completely synonymous with lack of transparency and accountability, and it was unjust, and what has happened is a watershed moment and something that is geared towards bringing social justice to our country. So clearly, the Prime Minister making a pitch for the benefit, for the welfare of Pasmanda Muslims. Yet again, remember, Saugate Modi was also something that was in line with this. The BJP in Bihar distributing Eid kits to poor Muslims. So the BJP here making it clear that it is not, this is not a communal bill and it is aimed towards reform, while the opposition making it clear that its opposition to this bill is because it is targeted towards one particular community, as it saw the CAA bill or for that matter, Teen Talaq bill. And the opposition has centered its narrative around the Constitution, something that has worked for it politically. Well, today is the last day of the Parliament session and of the budget session till it meets for monsoon session yet again. And today we can also see some sort of movement on the tariffs, because the Congress Party has been asking for a discussion on tariffs, because that it is something that is important for our economy and also for our geopolitical situation. 2 Congress MPs have already moved adjournment motions seeking a discussion on this, on the kind of diplomacy, on the kind of impact it may have on US and India's diplomatic relations, and also the kind of impact it will have on our agricultural markets, because the tariffs have really gone up from 2% to 26%. There are also 2 sets of tariffs here. So that is something that the opposition wants. And Rahul Gandhi spoke on this yesterday, saying that this has been imposed by India's own ally, the US, and which is why the government needs to answer. So that is going to be the next flashpoint, which we'll keep tracking, Parmeshwar.
As always, Dasada, thank you so much for joining us with the lowdown. We'll keep in touch with you for regular updates from Parliament. Well, switching tracks, the Supreme Court had upheld a Calcutta High Court order which had found severe irregularities in the recruitment process conducted by the West Bengal School Service Commission, and Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee had blamed the BJP and the CPIM. Currently, the BJP is attacking the Bengal Chief Minister over this row over teachers' recruitment, as the Supreme Court cancelled the recruitment. It was a big Supreme Court setback for Mamata Banerjee and her team, but just listen in to what the BJP has to say regarding the matter.
जो वास्तविक लीडर होता है वो कभी पैसा मार करके भ्रष्टाचार के और करप्शन के माध्यम से अपने ही लोगों को नर्क में नहीं भेजता है, उनका जिंदगी उनके जीवन को नारकीय नहीं बनाता है। मगर बड़े दुख के साथ कहना पड़ रहा है कि ममता बनर्जी एवं उनकी सरकार ने बंगाल में जिस प्रकार से भ्रष्टाचार को अनलीश किया है, भ्रष्टाचार को खुलेआम छोड़ रखा है, आज उसका गाज लाखों लोगों के ऊपर पड़ा है। आप सबने देखा कल सुप्रीम कोर्ट, भारत का सर्वोच्च न्यायालय सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बंगाल में जो स्कूल भर्ती घोटाला हुआ था, स्कूल भर्ती घोटाला 2016 से 2021 के बीच लगभग 23 से 24 लाख एप्लीकेंट बंगाल के अंदर टीचर और नॉन टीचिंग स्टाफ की पोस्ट्स जो एडवर्टाइजमेंट के माध्यम से निकली थी उसमें उन्होंने अप्लाई किया था। और 2016 से 2021 के बीच लगभग 25,780 से अधिक टीचर और नॉन टीचिंग स्टाफ का रिक्रूटमेंट किया गया था और उसमें इतने बड़े तादाद में भ्रष्टाचार हुआ था कि इस विषय को लेकर अनेकों लोग कोर्ट में गए थे और उस समय बंगाल में इसे ब्राइब फॉर जॉब स्कैम, पैसा लेकर काम देने वाला स्कैम, ब्राइब फॉर जॉब स्कैम और स्कूल भर्ती घोटाले के नाम से जाना गया। अप्रैल 22, 2024 में कलकत्ता के हाईकोर्ट ने बड़ा स्पष्ट निर्णय दिया। उन्होंने यह निर्णय दिया कि ये जो 25,780 रिक्रूटमेंट जिनकी हुई है, यह रिक्रूटमेंट प्रोसीजर फॉल्टी है, ये भ्रष्टाचार से मारा हुआ है, पैसा लेकर गलत तरीकों से ओएमआर सीट जो होती है, उस ओएमआर सीट जिसको कि ऑप्टिकल मार्क रिकॉग्नाइजेशन शीट कहते हैं, जब ये एग्जाम होता है तो इसकी शीट की इवैल्यूएशन होती है, उसको डिस्ट्रॉय कर दिया गया ताकि ये पता न चले कि कौन सही है और कौन गलत है, ताकि जो सबसे नीचे के पायदान पे जिस कैंडिडेट का मार्किंग हुआ है उसको ऊपर लाके एक हायर रैंक में स्थापित किया जा सके, जो टॉपर नहीं है उसको टॉपर बना दिया जाए, जिसने क्वालिफाई नहीं किया और ओएमआर शीट में कोई भी प्रश्न का उत्तर नहीं दिया उसको किस प्रकार से रिक्रूटमेंट दे दिया जाए पैसे के बल पर। तो कलकत्ता हाईकोर्ट ने 22 अप्रैल 2024 में स्पष्टतः कहा कि इसे खारिज किया जाए, दूसरी बार अपॉइंटमेंट प्रोसेस शुरू की जाए और सबसे बड़ी बात सीबीआई की जांच हो। सीबीआई की जांच हो। आप याद करिए उस समय किस प्रकार ममता बनर्जी और उनके जो साथी हैं टीएमसी के सीबीआई के खिलाफ, ईडी के खिलाफ अनर्गल बयानबाजी कर रहे थे। सीबीआई कैसे राज्य में प्रवेश नहीं करे, और ये जो इंडी अलायंस वाले हैं सब भ्रष्टाचारी, ये सारे भ्रष्टाचारी मिलकर हम कर्नाटक में सीबीआई को घुसने नहीं देंगे, हम बंगाल में सीबीआई को घुसने नहीं देंगे, जहां कांग्रेस शासित राज्य या इंडी के गठबंधन के लोग हैं वहां सीबीआई नहीं घुसेगी। क्यों नहीं घुसेगी? क्योंकि वहां हम डाका डालेंगे, हम वहां चोरी करेंगे और हमारी चोरी सीना जोरी के दम पर होगा, कोई हमें पकड़ने की हिम्मत नहीं करेगा। और कल सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया संजीव खन्ना और जस्टिस संजय कुमार की बेंच ने अपना फाइनल जजमेंट सुनाया। जब हाई कोर्ट ने यह जजमेंट दिया था खारिज करने का, तो 126 एप्लीकेंट गए थे सुप्रीम कोर्ट में अपना एप्लीकेशन दायर करने के लिए, अपील दायर करने के लिए कि हाई कोर्ट के इस जजमेंट को खारिज कर दिया जाए। उसमें से एक एप्लीकेंट वेस्ट बंगाल की सरकार भी थी। सरकार ने कहा नहीं, ये हाईकोर्ट गलत बोल रही है, ये हाईकोर्ट हमारे एजुकेशन सिस्टम को ध्वंस करना चाहती है, तो हाईकोर्ट के इस फरमान को, हाईकोर्ट के इस डिसीजन को खारिज कर दिया जाए। सोचिए, ऐसा बोला था वेस्ट बंगाल की सरकार ने। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने उस समय स्टे ऑर्डर दिया कि ठीक है, अभी स्टे करिए, हम पूरे तफसील से स्टडी करेंगे। उन्होंने सब पे स्टे ऑर्डर दिया, तफसील से इसमें पूरी स्टडी हुई और कल सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने 2 जजों की बेंच, जिसमें चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया संजीव खन्ना और जस्टिस संजय कुमार, दोनों ने अपना जजमेंट सुनाया। मैं जजमेंट का एक अंश पढ़ के सुनाता। We have gone through the facts regarding findings of this case. Entire selection process is vitiated by manipulation and fraud. हमने इस केस के तथ्य को जांचा है, पूरे केस के तथ्य को जांचा है, सुप्रीम कोर्ट कह रही है, और पूरा का पूरा मामला जो सिलेक्शन प्रोसेस है वो मैनिपुलेटिव है, उसको मैनिपुलेट किया गया है और फ्रॉड है, धोखाधड़ी है, धोखा दिया गया है। क्रेडिबिलिटी एंड लेजिटिमेसी हैज बीन डेन्यूडेड। क्रेडिबिलिटी और लेजिटिमेसी की धज्जियां उड़ गई हैं। किसकी क्रेडिबिलिटी और किसकी लेजिटिमेसी की धज्जियां उड़ी है? ममता बनर्जी की सरकार, वेस्ट बंगाल की सरकार और वेस्ट बंगाल की मुख्यमंत्री ममता बनर्जी की क्रेडिबिलिटी और उनकी लेजिटिमेसी की धज्जियां उड़ गई हैं। यह सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा है, यह कोई भारतीय जनता पार्टी नहीं कह रही। नो रीजन टू इंटरफियर इन द हाई कोर्ट जजमेंट। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा कोई कारण नहीं है कि जो हाई कोर्ट की जजमेंट है उसमें हम इंटरफियर करें। हाई कोर्ट ने ठीक कहा है, टेंटेड कैंडिडेट्स मस्ट बी टर्मिनेटेड। 23 लाख से 24 लाख युवकों ने, युवतियों ने दिन रात पढ़ाई करके एप्लीकेशन भरा कि हम टीचर बनेंगे, नॉन टीचिंग स्टाफ में जाएंगे, हमारा जीवन आगे बढ़ेगा, बूढ़ी मां बाप को हम पालेंगे। और अंततः आपने पैसे लेकर 5 से 15 लाख रुपए तक या उससे ज्यादा पैसे लिए गए, मैं उस पर भी आऊंगा, एक एक कैंडिडेट से। और पैसे के दम पर आपने ये जो भर्ती किया है, ये टेंटेड कैंडिडेट्स को टर्मिनेट करना होगा, ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा। अपॉइंटमेंट्स वेयर रिजल्ट ऑफ चीटिंग एंड फ्रॉड। ये जो अपॉइंटमेंट हुआ है ये चीटिंग और फ्रॉड के नतीजे से हुआ है, धोखेबाजी से की गई है, ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा है, ये कोई भारतीय जनता पार्टी नहीं कह रही है। आप सोचिए अगर किसी और मुख्यमंत्री के लिए ऐसे शब्दों का उच्चारण डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट भी कर दी होती तो हाय हंगामा मच जाता। राहुल गांधी पजामा और टी शर्ट में ही आ जाते पार्लियामेंट। वो आए भी थे शायद कल परसों। वो पजामा टी शर्ट में आके बोलते डेमोक्रेसी खत्म हो गई, हत्या हो गई डेमोक्रेसी की, मुख्यमंत्री को गिरफ्तार करो, अरेस्ट करो, हिटलर है। कहां है भैया राहुल गांधी? कहां हो आप? कहां है ये इंडी वाले? आओ ना। ये डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट ने नहीं, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बताया है। और ऐसे रिक्रूटमेंट स्कैम्स के लिए याद करिए, हरियाणा में पूर्व में मुख्यमंत्री जेल गए हैं, जेल। दीदी जेल जाएंगी, अलबत्त जाएंगी। हिंदुस्तान में कानून का शासन है और एक बार हमारी सरकार बनेगी बंगाल में, द फुल फोर्स ऑफ लॉ विल कम अपॉन ममता बनर्जी। पूरा फोर्स जो कानून का है, नैतिकता का है, भारत के संविधान का है, उसके मुताबिक जिन लोगों ने हजारों लाखों लोगों के जीवन को नारकीय बनाया है, उनको दुख दिया है, प्रताड़ना दी है, वो जेल के सलाखों के पीछे होने ही चाहिए। मैं आज न्यूज में देख रहा था, कितने लोग रो रहे हैं, कितनी टीचर्स रो रही हैं, उनका घर बर्बाद हो रहा है। ये जो अभी लगभग 26,000 लोग निकाले जाएंगे, क्या लगता है आपको अगर भ्रष्टाचार के माध्यम से भी जो टेंटेड हैं उनको भी रखा गया हो तो उनकी जिंदगी पर भी क्या गुजर रही होगी? क्योंकि ये सारी घपलेबाजी, घोटालेबाजी ममता बनर्जी की सरकार ने किया है, इसलिए लाखों लोग आज परेशान हैं। ममता बनर्जी जी से आज हम सब डिमांड करते हैं कि जो 25,750 लोगों की तनख्वाह बंद होगी, ममता बनर्जी टीएमसी के फंड से, सीएम रिलीफ फंड से उनका भरण पोषण करे और उनको सैलरी दे, उनको सैलरी दे और उनका भरण पोषण करे। और ममता बनर्जी ने कल कहा है सुप्रीम कोर्ट के इस जजमेंट के पश्चात कि ह्यूमैनिटेरियन ग्राउंड में, ऐसे ह्यूमैनिटेरियन तो ग्राउंड तो वो समझती ही नहीं, ह्यूमैनिटेरियन ग्राउंड पे मैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट की जजमेंट को नहीं मानूंगी। आई विल नॉट कंप्लाई बाय द ऑर्डर्स ऑफ सुप्रीम कोर्ट। मैं नहीं मानती हूं, मैं खारिज करती हूं सुप्रीम कोर्ट के ऑर्डर को। मेरा सुप्रीम कोर्ट से भी सविनय निवेदन है कि ऐसे विषयों को सुओ मोटो उठाना चाहिए और कंटेम्प्ट ऑफ कोर्ट ममता बनर्जी और तृणमूल कांग्रेस की सरकार पर लगना चाहिए। किसी मुख्यमंत्री की हिम्मत हो सकती है ऐसे, वो सुप्रीम कोर्ट के लिए कहे कि हम सुप्रीम कोर्ट के ऑर्डर को नहीं मानेंगे। दिस इज हिटलरशिप। ये होता है डिक्टेटरशिप, ये होता है हिटलर बनना। जब कोई व्यक्ति उठकर कह दे कि मैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट को नहीं मानती, मैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजमेंट को नहीं मानूंगी, ये होता है डिक्टेटरशिप। और इसलिए इस तालिबानी डिक्टेटरशिप शासन के खिलाफ आज बंगाल की जनता को एक होने की आवश्यकता है। याद करिए वो पार्थ चैटर्जी, सब लाया हूं मैं, वो पार्थ चैटर्जी जो गिरफ्तार हुए थे 2022 में, उस समय वो पार्थ चैटर्जी स्टेट के एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर थे। और स्टेट के एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर के साथ साथ कौन कौन गिरफ्तार हुए थे? एमएलए मानिक भट्टाचार्य, एमएलए जीवन कृष्ण साहा, टीएमसी लीडर शांतनु कुंडू, टीएमसी लीडर कुंतौल घोष, सबसे मुख्य पार्थ चटर्जी, मगर मेरे से भी गलत उच्चारण हो गया, सबसे मुख्य पार्थ चटर्जी नहीं, पार्थ चटर्जी का जो अरेस्ट मेमो है, मुझे पता नहीं आप में से कितने लोगों ने पार्थ चटर्जी का अरेस्ट मेमो पढ़ा है। पार्थ चटर्जी ने अपने अरेस्ट मेमो में लिखा है, योर गार्डियन एंड योर रिलेटिव, जिसके कहने पर आप काम करते हैं, उन्होंने लिखा है अपने हैंडराइटिंग से ममता बनर्जी, ममता बंदोपाध्याय, हमार गार्डियन। आप सोचिए, पथप्रदर्शक ममता बनर्जी, আমার গার্ডিয়ান মমতা ব্যানার্জি, আমার रिश्तेदार, আমার रिलेटिव ममता बनर्जी, ममता दीदी, ये उनके अरेस्ट मेमो में लिखा हुआ है। आप जाके देखिए अरेस्ट मेमो। अरे जो पथ प्रदर्शक है, जो मार्गदर्शक है, जिसके कहने पर आपने ये घोटाला किया, वो पार्थ चटर्जी जेल के अंदर है, तो दीदी जेल के अंदर क्यों नहीं? ये फोटो देखिए, ये पार्थ चटर्जी, पार्थ चटर्जी के साथ जो मोहतरमा खड़ी है उनका नाम अर्पिता घोष है। आप सब जानते हैं अर्पिता घोष उनकी एसोसिएट थी। और ये जो नोटों की गड्डी 2 बार रेड हुए और कुल मिलाकर के 49 करोड़ रुपया, अर्पिता मुखर्जी, ये अर्पिता मुखर्जी उनकी एड है, क्लोज एड। अर्पिता मुखर्जी के घर में भी रेड हुए, अनेकों और जगह रेड हुए। 49 करोड़ रुपए ईडी ने रिकवर किया इस रेड में। आप अभी जो मैंने बताया अरेस्ट मेमो में क्लोज रिलेटिव एंड मार्गदर्शक, देखिए ये चिन्ह दोनों मार्गदर्शक से मार्गदर्शन ले रहे हैं। आप देखिए फोटो अच्छे से देखिए, इसको छापिए भी। ये देखिए क्या करना होगा, पूछ रही हैं दीदी से पार्थ जी पूछ रहे हैं, दीदी बोल रही है सब घोटाला करो, ये पैसा टीएमसी में जमा करो। यही बात हो रहा है। यहां देखिए, ये देखिए वही चल रहा है दोनों के बीच खुसुर फुसुर, किस प्रकार करोड़ों रुपए हथियाया जाए। ये दोनों देखिए जरा, गार्डियन एंड क्लोज रिलेटिव दोनों की फोटो। और ये देखिए जनता की गाढ़ी कमाई और जनता की गाढ़ी कमाई के क्या यहां हश्र किया गया है। अरे ऐसे तो हमारे घर में झाड़ू मारेंगे तो गंदा कागज भी इतना नहीं निकलेगा, मतलब अभी गंदा कागज भी इतना नहीं निकलने वाला है। और हम लोग सब पॉलिटिकल लोग हैं, हमारे घर कई अखबार आते हैं, हम अखबार का ढेर भी लगा देना 1 महीना का तो भी इतना नहीं लगेगा। और ये सब 2-2 हजार रुपए के नोट है। आप देखिए जरा, 49 करोड़ और न जाने कितने कितने कहां छुपा रखे होंगे, इलेक्शन में बांट दिए होंगे। और ये किसकी खून पसीने की कमाई है? ये वो जो 24 लाख एप्लीकेंट आए थे, उन 24 लाख एप्लीकेंट की खून पसीने की कमाई है, खून पसीने की कमाई। मुझे अब सिर्फ इतना कहना है कि ममता बनर्जी हैज नो राइट टू स्टे इन पावर नाउ। ममता बनर्जी को कुर्सी छोड़ना होगा, ममता बनर्जी को रेजिग्नेशन देना ही होगा। वो ह्यूमैनिटेरियज्म की बात करती है, मानविकता की बात करती है, मां माटी मानुष की बात करती है। अगर उनमें इतना भी तनिक भर भी कहीं सेंस ऑफ रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी बाकी है तो तुरंत आज के आज ममता बनर्जी को रेजिग्नेशन दे देना चाहिए, नंबर 1। नंबर 2, स्पष्ट रूप से हम कहना चाहते हैं, जिन लोगों को निकाला जाएगा उन लोगों को तनख्वाह देने का काम ममता बनर्जी की सरकार करे। नंबर 3, हम जानते हैं ये जो मुद्दा है ये आज बंगाल का ही नहीं पूरे भारतवर्ष का एक बड़ा मुद्दा है। और आज ही आप देखिएगा ममता बनर्जी कुछ ना कुछ ऐसे दंगे इत्यादि भड़काना शुरू कर देगी बंगाल के अंदर, ताकि किसी भी कीमत पर लोगों का नजर इस घपले से हट करके लोग अपने आप को बचाने में, लोग अपने आप को किस प्रकार से सुरक्षित रख के उस पर लगेंगे। सिविल इंस्टिगेट फियर्स अमंग पीपल। आप देखिएगा आज भय का वातावरण बंगाल में बना देगी, वो कुछ ना कुछ करेगी ऐसा जिससे वहां भय का वातावरण हो जाए। और मैं कहना चाहता हूं ममता जी से और टीएमसी से, कुर्सी खाली करो, कुर्सी खाली करो कि जनता आती है, चेयर खाली करो, जनगण आसछे, जनगण आसछे ममता दी, चेयर खाली करो। करते होबे, अन्य उपाय ना, करते होबे, चेयर खाली करते होबे। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। अब मैं आदरणीय केंद्रीय मंत्री, हमारे बड़े भाई और बंगाल के अध्यक्ष सुकांत दास से कहूंगा कि वो आपसे मुखातिब हो।
सबको नमस्कार। माननीय संबित पात्र जी ने पूरे विषय को विस्तृत रूप से आपके सामने रखा। कल इस घटना घटने के बाद, यानी सुप्रीम कोर्ट के आदेश आने के बाद, ममता बनर्जी मीडिया के सामने आई और सबको दोषारोपण किया, सबको दोष दिया। सुकांत मजूमदार से लेकर सीपीएम के नेताओं से लेकर जज को लेकर जुडिशियरी को लेकर, जैसे संबित पात्रा जी ने बताया कि क्वांटम ऑफ कोर्ट की हद तक, और वो भी एपेक्स कोर्ट ऑफ इंडिया, उसकी क्वांटम तक वो चले गई। लेकिन जिन्होंने पैसा लिया, जिन तृणमूल कांग्रेस के नेताओं ने पैसा लिया, ममता बनर्जी के लोगों ने पैसा लिया और ममता बनर्जी ने उनको बचाया सुपर न्यूमररी पोस्ट बनाकर। कैबिनेट बैठी अलग से, यानी अगर स्कूलों में 1000 टीचर चाहिए तो जो लोगों को, टेंटेड लोगों को लिया गया, उनको बचाने के लिए 1000 से ऊपर 1500 पोस्ट क्रिएट किए गए। कैबिनेट बैठी थी। तो हमारी मांग ये है कि अगर कैबिनेट बैठ के अगर ये डिसीजन लेता है कि चोरों को बचाना है, जिन्होंने पैसा लेकर नौकरी खरीदा उनको बचाना है, तो उस कैबिनेट की जो हेड है, जिसके अनुप्रेरणा से बंगाल में सब कुछ होता है, और वो पूरी कैबिनेट जेल के अंदर होनी चाहिए, जेल के बाहर नहीं रहनी चाहिए, क्योंकि पूरी तरीके से दर्शाता है कि इस कैबिनेट ने चोरों को बचाने के लिए काम किया। और ममता बनर्जी बचा सकती थी। देखिए, ये जो 26,000 लोग, लगभग 25,752 एकदम अगर सही बोले तो 3753, तो इन सब लोगों में सब टेम्पटेड नहीं है, सबने पैसा देके नौकरी खरीदा नहीं था। कल रो रहे थे टीचर, और ये इशू मेरे हार्ट के बहुत करीब है, क्योंकि मैंने अपनी जिंदगी का पहला नौकरी इसी एग्जाम देके मुझे मिला था, स्कूल सर्विस कमीशन। मेरे धर्मपत्नी जी अभी भी इसी एग्जाम देकर स्कूल में नौकरी करती है, पढ़ाती है। बंगाल में हमेशा शिक्षकों की एक मर्यादा थी, टीचर को एक सम्मान से देखा जाता था बंगाल में। कल हम जब देख रहे थे कि ममता बनर्जी के कारण यूनिवर्सिटी टॉपर, गोल्ड मेडलिस्ट रो रही थी, बहुत सारे लोग रो रहे थे कि ईएमआई कैसे देंगे, परिवार को चलाएंगे कैसे, बूढ़ी मां बाप है, उनकी दवाई कहां से होगी। इसके लिए अगर कोई रिस्पॉन्सिबल है, एक व्यक्ति को अगर रिस्पॉन्सिबल किया जा सकता है, उसका नाम ममता बनर्जी है और उनकी पूरी पार्टी है। ये मैंने जो बताया कि लोअर कोर्ट ने, यानी हाई कोर्ट में सिंगल बेंच ने ये सजेशन दिया था कि आप दूध को अलग करो, पानी को अलग करो। यहां तक कि हाई कोर्ट ने यह भी बोला था कि लगभग 5,000 अराउंड जो दागी है, मतलब जिन्होंने पैसा देकर नौकरी खरीदा, बाकी लोग सही है एकदम, अपने परिश्रम से पढ़ाई करके उन्होंने ये नौकरी जुटाई थी, अपने पुरुषार्थ पर उनको नौकरी मिला था। लेकिन ममता बनर्जी के जो एडवाइजर थे, उन्होंने उनको एडवाइस दिया कि आप अगर बचना चाहती है तो, अगर तृणमूल कांग्रेस के नेताओं को जिन्होंने पैसा लिया हाथ फैलाकर, उनको बचाना चाहते हैं तो दूध और पानी को आप मिला दो। तो दूध और पानी जब मिल जाएगा, कोर्ट इसको डिफरेंशिएट नहीं कर पाएगी, अलग नहीं कर पाएगी, तो कोर्ट बोलेगा ठीक है, जो हो गया उसको रहने दो। अब पासा उल्टा पड़ गया है। कोर्ट बोला है कि, हाई कोर्ट ने भी बोला था, डिवीजन बेंच ने भी उसी राय को बहाल रखा था, और आप भारतवर्ष के सुप्रीम कोर्ट जो चीफ जस्टिस के नेतृत्व में बना 2 जजेस की जो राय आया है, जो verdict आया है, वो स्पष्ट कर देती है कि ममता बनर्जी ने जो चालाकी की थी, वो चालाकी कोर्ट के सामने पकड़ी गई। कोर्ट ने उल्टा बोला कि दूध और पानी अगर अलग नहीं किया जा सकता तो पूरा ही फेंक दो। लेकिन इस जो verdict आया है, इस verdict में हमारा सिर्फ इतना ही सवाल है कि लगभग 20,000 से ऊपर लोग जिन्होंने परिश्रम करके जिनको नौकरी मिला, उनका कोई दोष होने के बावजूद उनका नौकरी जा रहा है। लेकिन टीएमसी के जो लीडर जिन्होंने पैसा लिया, पैसा लेके नौकरी बेचा, मॉल बना दिया है ममता बनर्जी ने पश्चिम बंगाल में को। जो खरीदना है आपको, टीचर खरीदना है, नौकरी खरीदना है, सैंड लेके नदी से बेचना है, जो चाहे आप कर सकते हैं, सिर्फ पैसा देना है। शॉपिंग मॉल बना के रख दिया है ममता बनर्जी पश्चिम बंगाल को। इसलिए हम चाहते हैं कि सरकार, संविधान ने जो प्रपोजल दिया कि पार्टी के पैसे से सीएम रिलीफ फंड से जो योग्य है उनको पैसा देने की काम किया जाए, सीएम रिलीफ फंड से और टीएमसी की पार्टी से, क्योंकि पैसा टीएमसी की पार्टी के पास गया है। और सिर्फ हम नहीं बोले, ऑडियो रिकॉर्डिंग है। आपको पता है कि ईडी एक दूसरा केस वहां पे चल रही है जिसमें कालीघाटेर काकू बोल के एक कैरेक्टर है, जीवन कृष्ण भद्रो, उनका एक ऑडियो आया है जिसमें उस ऑडियो में बोल रहा है वो व्यक्ति बांग्ला में कि पार्थो लोभी है, लोभी मतलब बहुत लालची है, उसको 25 करोड़ देते हैं, अभिषेक को 20 करोड़ देते हैं। जिस मानिक भट्टाचार्य का नाम इन्होंने लिया, उस मानिक को इतना देते हैं, बंटवारा चल रहा है पैसे की, ऑडियो में है। हाँ, कौन अभिषेक है ये तो सब जानते हैं, ये कौन सा अभिषेक है। कभी वो बोले थे कि मेरे खिलाफ एक भी सबूत आ जाएगा या मेरे खिलाफ चोरी हो जाए, प्रमाणित हो जाएगी, तो मैं फांसी के मंच में अपने आप को लटका दूंगा। अब उनको मंच नहीं मिल रहा है कि क्या नहीं मिल रहा है मालूम नहीं मुझे, लेकिन ये जो एक के बाद एक चोरी बंगाल में तृणमूल कांग्रेस के समय हुई है, इसका हद पार हो चुका है। ममता बनर्जी को अब जाना चाहिए। अगर खुद से उतरती है तो चेयर से तो सही है, नहीं तो जनता जनार्दन जाके कान पकड़ के चेयर से उतार देगी। वो समय आ रहा है। तो पहला डिमांड हमारा है सीएम रिलीफ फंड से या पार्टी से आप पैसा दो इनको। दूसरी मेरी एक सजेशन है ममता बनर्जी की सरकार को कि जो योग्य कैंडिडेट है लगभग 20,000 से ऊपर, इनको कोर्ट ने बोला कि आप 3 महीने बाद फिर एग्जाम दो, देके आपने आपको एलिजिबल साबित करो। अब एक टीचर 16 से पढ़ा रही है स्कूल में, आप जानते हैं एग्जाम जो होता है वो ग्रेजुएट या मास्टर डिग्री लेवल का होता है, जो सिलेक्शन का एग्जाम होता है, और स्कूल में पढ़ाना पड़ता है स्कूल स्टैंडर्ड के 11-12 स्टैंडर्ड या उसके नीचे वाला स्टैंडर्ड का। तो स्वाभाविक है सब्जेक्ट से सब डिटच है। 16 साल से आज तक उतना तो ऑनर्स या बीए, बीएससी, एमएससी, एमए उस सब्जेक्ट से लोग डिटच है। तो मेरा सजेशन है कि मैं अपने जिंदगी के 10 साल लगभग पढ़ाते आ रहा हूं यूनिवर्सिटी में।
Well, you've just heard the BJP saying Mamata Banerjee's credibility is totally eroded. In fact, they have questioned where the India bloc leaders are. Sambit Patra clearly saying that Mamata Banerjee will go to jail eventually because the full force of law is on the West Bengal Chief Minister. In fact, the BJP there in their latest press conference stating clearly that this is dictatorship by Mamata Banerjee. Sambit Patra also went on to call it Hitlership that's going on in West Bengal. These are the BJP's claims, further claiming that Bengal should unite against Mamata Banerjee and that she must resign. The BJP's latest clarion call is that the West Bengal Chief Minister must resign. Anirban Banerjee joins us over the phone line with a rebuttal at the moment. Anirban, the Supreme Court has said that the entire selection process, the recruitment process is vitiated and tainted beyond resolution. The BJP says Mamata Banerjee should resign because they hold her accountable. In fact, they've just claimed in their press conference that she has no right to stay in power. What's your reaction?
First of all, regarding the verdict of the Supreme Court, there's a hint of double standard given that during the NEET 2024, the Supreme Court had observed that the sanctity of the process has been compromised, yet the entire exam process was not set aside. By the same logic, in this case, the entire panel shouldn't have been set aside, but the court did the same. It set aside, showing the reason that the process has been compromised, the sanctity has been compromised. So this glaring flaw regarding the double standard in two different cases. In one, the union government was involved, the NEET 2024. The panel, or rather the the exam process was not set aside. In this case, the West Bengal government, which is anti-BJP, the party TMC anti-BJP is involved, the entire panel was set aside. Though the logic in the both cases was shown the same, the observation was the same, but the verdict were quite different. In fact, the opposite verdict was given, and therefore there is a hint of some political foul play involved in all these, though I do not want to comment on the Supreme Court's verdict or the judge who has been presiding over this particular matter. But we have seen in the past, Justice Abhijit Ganguly became a BJP MP, Justice Ranjan Gogoi was elected by the president, in a sense the BJP MP as well. Therefore, somewhere the judiciary seems to have been compromised as well, and in that case, the BJP does not have any right to call for the what should I say, the sacking of the Chief Minister of West Bengal, because they do not have their own moral right under their rule. We have seen the Vapam scam, the NEET scam, etc., one after the other. And even Mr. Shubhendu Adhikari, who is the LOP of West Bengal right now, the BJP, was in the same cabinet in 2016 where Partha Chatterjee was there. So if anybody has to take responsibility, if it has to be Mamata Banerjee, why will Shubhendu Adhikari be absolved of his own responsibilities? Let the BJP clarify stand on whether Shubhendu Adhikari was involved as well. Because the highest number of candidates who have been sacked, they are from Purvo Medinipur, which comes under the political rule of Shubhendu Adhikari. In 2016, Shubhendu Adhikari presided over the entire Purvo Medinipur. Therefore, will the BJP hold him responsible as well?
TMC, they're claiming that this is political foul play and double standards on display by the BJP. But Mr. Banerjee, the state BJP president, Sukanta Majumdar, is holding Mamata Banerjee accountable for this entire recruitment scandal. In fact, the BJP says, even in its latest press conference, that Didi will go to jail. What do you have to say to the allegations of malpractice in the 2016 recruitment process that was conducted by the West Bengal officials?
Regarding the 2016 appointments, Mr. Partha Chatterjee was the then education minister, and some of the officials involved in the SSG and etc. They have been put behind bars. Partha Chatterjee has been sacked by the party. He has been stripped of all the positions by the TMC. But the BJP, who has been pointing fingers at, say, Shubhendu Adhikari in the past, has made him the LOP. Therefore, and Shubhendu Adhikari was one of the tallest leaders right now in the BJP. Even Sukanta Majumdar or Dilip Ghosh or say Shomik Bhattacharya, they used to call Shubhendu Adhikari a corrupt person, and now he is the supreme leader of the BJP in West Bengal. Therefore, the BJP has no moral right of pointing fingers at others when it comes to corruption allegations.
Well, Mr. Banerjee, thank you so much for joining us with your rebuttal. In fact, while the BJP has called Mamata Banerjee's regime Hitlership and dictatorship, citing her refusal to pay heed to the Supreme Court's remarks, the TMC clearly says this is political foul play and double standards on display on the BJP's front. Meanwhile, Shreyashi's been tracking the latest political developments for us as well. She joins us live at the moment. Shreyashi, take us through the latest developments.
Well, of course, Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has hit out at the BJP and the CPIM regarding the verdict that came in from the Supreme Court yesterday. The reason being, one of the lawyers on record was the CPIM leader. And of course, the BJP is celebrating, the jobs being snatched away in this entire corruption case. So the judge who was in fact hearing this case initially at the Calcutta High Court is now a sitting BJP MP. So the Mamata Banerjee government is, as per usual, deflecting the blame of this entire fiasco and shifting it on the opposition parties here. And today, the BJP countering that and holding a press conference in New Delhi, which signifies that they will be making this a larger national narrative and talking point. But if we look at our previous elections here in the state of West Bengal, has corruption really mattered while voters went out and cast their ballot? It hasn't. Partha Chatterjee was arrested in 2022. The Trinamool Congress has won 2 elections after that, one the state legislative assembly election as well as the Lok Sabha elections that were held last year, and it decimated the opposition parties. So we'll have to wait and see whether this becomes a big talking point in the public sphere, or does it just remain a political tug-of-war between the TMC and BJP?
As always, Shreyashi, thank you so much for joining us with the latest details. That's the big story we're tracking currently. The BJP claims that Mamata Banerjee's credibility is totally eroded in light of this teacher recruitment scam, but the TMC maintains this is political foul play and double standards on display by the BJP. The BJP also questioned where the India bloc leaders are, particularly mentioning Rahul Gandhi's name as well in their latest press conference. They further added that Mamata Banerjee does not deserve to stay in power and that she will go to jail eventually. The TMC says this is political vendetta. We'll keep tracking the latest for you on this front as far as the BJP versus the TMC in West Bengal. For now, we're slipping into a very short break. Back in a moment with much more. Do stay tuned. The Telangana government forms a panel over the land row.
Vista Health means fast access to scans. Vista Health means rapid results. Vista Health means convenient locations. Vista Health means affordable pricing. At Vista Health, we know what your health means to you. And that's why we provide fast access to MRI, ultrasound, echocardiogram and other health scans, without the need for a referral or medical insurance. Get the answers you need. Book your scan today at vistahealth.co.uk.
Protect what matters to you with Simply Safe Home Security. Get our Which Best Buy rated starter pack from under £200. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
OK, we know this isn't your dog. If this were your dog,